Chapter 710 Wang Ting, Move Aside. The martial warriors from the three troops charged toward the evil clansmen. They were powerful and experienced soldiers who had survived many battles. In terms of combat experience, the evil clansmen couldn't be compared with them. Poof, poof, poof. Within a few seconds, the majority of the evil clansmen present were killed. The sound of weapons hitting the flesh could be heard everywhere. Fresh blood splattered everywhere. Of course, the cries of agonies couldn't be missed either. Yet, no one sympathized with them. Their hands were all stained with blood, and their deaths were not to be regretted. Killing them on the spot was a mercy to them. In the sky, Wang Teng, Zhu Xuanwu, and Xiao Nanfeng were fighting with the Pope of the Zhenli clan. A dangerous faint aura surrounded them. The martial warriors and evil clansmen around them didn't dare to get too close. They kept their distance. There was no one within a few hundred meters radius around them. The Pope of the Zhenli clan has reached the peak of the general stage. He might have even taken a step further. Be careful. Wang Teng used voice transmission to remind the other two chief commanders. Taken a step further? The two of them were shocked. They understood what Wang Teng meant. In the general stage zone, every martial warrior was working hard to climb up the realm. However, the martial warriors on Earth had only reached the general stage and were finding their way up to another level. Whether they could take this step was extremely important. A natural chasm blocked the two realms. They were all finding a path across this chasm. If the Pope had already found the path, they must be on their guards. Zhu Xuanwu and Xiao Nanfeng turned serious. I have to admit that you guys are amazing talents to be able to reach this stage. The Pope suddenly opened his mouth and said, "You don't have to flatter us. It's useless. We have our principles. No matter what you say, we won't let you leave," Wang Teng said. Wivy the Pope. A vein suddenly popped up on his forehead. What was wrong with this brat's mind? Was he flattering them? What kind of understanding ability was this? What was he thinking? Was he an idiot? If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. The Pope took a few deep breaths to calm his burning anger. Zhu Xuanwu and Xiao Nanfeng gave Wang Teng a strange glance too. The Pope spoke in a high and mighty tone, yet Wang Teng made it sound as if he were currying favor with them. The commenter became a man fawning upon his opponents. At first, they were a little infuriated by the Pope's tone. As chief commanders, they felt that the Pope didn't have the right to comment on them. But now, their anger had disappeared completely. They even found the situation a little funny. As expected of a young and foolish man, the Pope said calmly as he looked at Wang Teng. "You're right. I'm young, unlike you who already has one leg in the grave. I'll send your other leg into it later." "You don't have to thank me," Wang Teng replied. Silence. Infuriating. The Pope of the Zhenli clan felt his head hurting a little. No, it was extremely painful. His face turned gloomy, and a long sword appeared in his hand. It gave off a sharp glint. "Since you're so eager to die, I'll fulfill your wish," the Pope snapped back. The instant he finished speaking, he disappeared on the spot. "Be careful." Zhu Xuanwu and Xiao Nanfeng's expressions changed. They took out their weapons and scanned their surroundings vigilantly. SV. A soft sound echoed in the space. A pale white sword glow appeared in front of Wang Teng and chopped down on his head. This sword was so fast that it almost couldn't be seen clearly. It flashed like a bolt of lightning. The Pope's face appeared behind the sword glow. However, Wang Teng didn't evade the attack. He looked at the sword glow and even dashed toward it. The next instant, a large weapon appeared in his hand, creating a sonic boom as he waved it. A dazzling golden sword glow shot out of it. Boom. The two sword glows collided in midair and shattered with a loud bang. The force explosion formed a gale that swept over the entire area. The Pope's expression froze. This young lad's ability wasn't right. When he exchanged blows with him in the past, he managed to injure him until he vomited blood. He thought that his ability was at most at the 11-star general stage, but from the looks of it now, it was all an act. "Are you surprised? Did I stun you?" Wang Teng sniggered. The Pope was frustrated. He felt that Wang Ting had fooled him. The anger he had forcefully suppressed earlier came bubbling up again. Boom, boom, boom. A series of explosions suddenly came from afar. The Pope glanced around him and squinted. Most of the evil clansmen were brutally slaughtered. However, more reinforcements were rushing out from the mountains and joining the intense battle. After all, this was the base of the Zhonli clan. All the members of the clan were gathered here. Their numbers were frightening. Also, there were formidable warriors in the Zhonli clan too. There were more than 10 general stage martial warriors. Their ruthlessness was ignited during the massacre, and they turned crazy. They started fighting with the troops without any fear of losing their lives. In an instant, the Zhonli clan started to turn the tides around. The three chief commanders' expressions changed slightly. It looks like the winner is still undecided. The Pope suddenly smiled and said, Zhu Xuanwu snorted. Stop wasting time and kill this evil man. The force around him erupted. He grasped his blade and slashed it at the Pope. Kill. Wang Ting's gaze turned sharp too. He rushed forward. Xiao Nanfeng followed closely behind. They surrounded the Pope and started hurling attacks at him. However, the Pope was a formidable character. He didn't suffer any disadvantage even though he was facing the three of them. Suddenly, he found an opening and swung his sword out, forcing Wang Ting and Zhu Xuanwu back. At the same time, he released his fist and punched Xiao Nanfeng. Fart. Xiao Nanfeng vomited a mouthful of blood and flew out like a sandbag. Zhu Xuanwu and Wang Ting were shocked. They hurriedly blocked the Pope to prevent him from chasing after Xiao Nanfeng. Move. The Pope was furious. His face turned icy, and he slashed the sword in his hand. An overwhelming sword aura surged out, shooting toward Wang Ting and Zhu Xuanwu. The power of this attack was at the peak of the general stage. A normal martial warrior wouldn't be able to handle it. Wang Ting, move. Zhu Xuanwu's expression underwent a change. He rushed in front of Wang Ting and raised his blade above his head. A terrifying blade aura soared into the sky. The blade glow ran for a few hundred meters as he threw his blade down. Chapter 7:11 You Can Do It All the Best. Boom. The blade and sword consciouses of the fighters wreaked havoc in the air. The long blade conscious cut through the air and collided with the blade conscious. A huge explosion rang through the snowy mountains. Tremors shook the peak as if an earthquake was rocking the land. The frightening force swarmed over like terrifying sea waves. Zhu Xuanwu's expression changed. The powerful force slammed into his body, throwing him back like a cannonball. Slash. A sword wound appeared on his chest. Fresh blood spurted out and flew in the sky. Zhu Xuanwu was appalled. He stopped himself forcefully and stared at the Pope. You've indeed taken that step. You're wrong. I haven't taken the step yet. I've only raised my foot, but it's enough to deal with you, the Pope said indifferently with a calm expression. Zhu Xuanwu's gaze flickered. He was stunned. He was already so powerful before he reached the other stage. This was unbelievable. Wang Ting turned serious too. He activated his spiritual sight and saw a ball of special energy in the Pope's body. That was constellation force. This ball of constellation force had reached 1% of the entire force in his body. Even so, his ability had exceeded that of Zhu Xuanwu, who was a 13-star high-tier general stage martial warrior. Constellation force was frightening. Wang Ting looked at the constellation force in his body. It was small and pitiful. He had 4 constellation forces: fire, earth, wood, and metal. Yet, they were less than 0.1% of his entire force. They sat in a lonely corner in his force nucleus like an abandoned child. Never mind, he shouldn't compare it. Wang Ting chose to ignore it. If he said it out, he might get mocked and looked down upon by the Pope. Are you all right? He came beside Zhu Xuanwu and asked. He wasn't planning to evade just now. He wanted to fight alongside Zhu Xuanwu, but the guy was too fast. Before he could react, the two of them had started their fight. You couldn't blame him. Zhu Xuanwu felt a little awkward too. He wanted to block the Pope's attack when he rushed forward, but he failed. He even got injured. This was the first time he had suffered such a huge defeat in his many years of battles. However, this also represented how powerful the Pope was. He had surpassed normal general stage martial warriors. "I won't die." Zhu Xuanwu shook his head sternly, continuing in a grim tone, "You're right. We can't view him as a normal martial warrior at the peak of the general stage. We might not be his match even if we attack together." Wang Ting nodded. He was also deep in thought. With his ability, he wouldn't be able to defeat the Pope using normal means. He had to use his trump cards. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. Activate the arrays, Wang Ting pondered before suggesting. All right. Zhu Xuanwu nodded. They wouldn't activate the array easily because of the special topography here. They were standing on snowy mountains. If they activated the array, they might wake up a dormant volcano and cause an avalanche. Their own people might be injured by the force of destruction. However, they could only do this if they wanted to deal with the Pope. "Are you done talking?" The Pope's voice came from afar. "If you're done, I'll send you to meet your maker." His gaze was calm as he walked over confidently. The sword in his hand glowed brightly in gold. It was a frightening sight. "I'll block him." "Go and activate the array," Zhu Xuanwu said without turning his head. His gaze turned sharp. "Are you sure? Will you get chopped to death?" asked Wang Ting. Zhu Xuanwu's face turned black. What can you expect from a hog but a grunt? Was he cursing him? Couldn't he say something better? His chest heaved up and down furiously. He was infuriated. "Cough, I'll let you take care of the matters here then. You can do it. All the best." Wang Ting hurriedly ran away when he saw Zhu Xuanwu's reaction. "Zhu Xuanwu." The Pope's gaze flickered. He looked at Wang Ting and didn't chase after him. Instead, he turned to Zhu Xuanwu and said, "Staying back will only bring you death. I admit that you're very strong, but you're too conceited." Zhu Xuanwu's expression didn't change. The aura on his body increased exponentially. Boom, boom, boom. A thick and powerful yellow force shot into the sky. At this moment, Zhu Xuanwu's battle conscious was entirely activated. "Come and fight." Zhu Xuanwu clutched his blade and took a large step forward. An angry roar escaped from his throat like a provoked beast. The Pope of the Zhenli clan squinted. Even he didn't dare to look Zhu Xuanwu in the eye. As expected of the chief commander of the Xuanwu troop. Boom. A terrifying sword conscious erupted from his sword, and a dense golden sword glow cut through the air. Clang. A long blade smashed into the golden sword. Force explosions were heard instantly. Boom. The blade slashed down with immense power, forcing the Pope and his sword to drop a little. Zhu Xuanwu's expression was exceptionally cold and grim. His short hair stuck out like needles. At a battle of this level, he would fight like a maniac. After a successful attack, he released his frightening power again and chopped his blade down. Boom, boom, boom. Force explosions continuously sounded in the mountain. The Pope's expression changed slightly as he was forced to retreat. He was being suppressed by Zhu Xuanwu. This made him exasperated. The Pope looked irritated from his expression. His gaze turned cold. Powerful force surged out from his body, and he faced Zhu Xuanwu's sword attack head-on. The offense was the best defense. At their level, their battle awareness was exceptionally strong. They could launch their retaliation within a split second once they found a chance. The two of them had turned into two huge balls of lights. The golden and yellow colors kept intertwining and crashing in the air. On the other side, Wang Ting had already arrived above the snow mountain on the left of the Zhenli clan's base. This was the dormant volcano they had found on the map. It was only a short distance from the base of the Zhenli clan. The array built around this dormant volcano was enough to surround the evil clan's base. "Rune Masters, activate the array," Wang Ting's stern voice echoed. The Rune Masters below had already prepared themselves. They sat down cross-legged and instilled their forces into the different points of the array. Boom. Suddenly, a loud explosion was heard. The snow mountain below their feet seemed to be shuddering. Dazzling lights shot out, and a huge round array appeared gradually. It rose from the ground, covering a few thousand meters of land around it. What's that? An array. Damn it, they laid out an array. The evil clansmen were dumbstruck. They looked at the scary-looking array that suddenly appeared in the sky in astonishment. Chapter 7:12 Only an evil man could torment an evil man. The evil clansmen looked up at the great array in the air, and their expressions changed. They were dumbfounded. Array. Why is there an array here? When did they lay down this array? The evil clansmen started panicking. This array was exceptionally huge. It covered the entire area, and the aura it gave off was terrifying, making their hearts shudder. Is this your trump card? The Pope remained composed. However, his gaze had turned sharp. You came prepared. It looks like you're determined to exterminate us. The Zhonli clan has been around for too long. It's time to finish you off, Zhu Xuanwu replied. Haha, it's too early to laugh. The Pope smiled. We have an array too. He suddenly bellowed. Activate the clan protection array. With his order, the 3 snow mountains where the Zhonli clan was located started trembling. A large icy blue array slowly made an appearance. Boom. Amidst a loud explosion, the array started moving. The snow on the ice mountains started to float into the air and gathered together. In an instant, a snow-white dragon made of snow and ice was formed. Its large body twisted and coiled in the sky. Every single one of its scales appeared lifelike. It was as if the ice dragon was a real animal. Roar. A scary bellow came from the mouth of this ice dragon. When we were building the headquarters, I ordered my men to build this array. My divine ice dragon array made use of the coldness in its surroundings. Adding the snow mountains, its power is magnified. Do you think that you can exterminate us with just some normal array? You must be dreaming, the Pope said calmly. His voice was oozing with confidence. Anyone could sense it. The evil clansmen were elated. If their Pope didn't remind them, they might have forgotten that they had an array too. Their base was well hidden, so no one could discover them most of the time. Hence, the array became an ornament. Was Exer Zhu Xuanwu's expression turned a little strange? This situation was exactly like Wang Ting had predicted. Indeed, the Zhonli clan made use of the cold and ice here to lay down an ice element array. If they had carved the same element array, it wouldn't be able to overpower the Zhonli clan's one. However, they bypassed this trap and found another way out. They decided to form a fire array deep in the snow mountains. Fire and ice. The confidence of the Pope might be shattered into pieces once he learned of it. Wang Ting remained calm, though. He just stared at the Pope strangely. The Pope was puzzled by his gaze. The veins on his forehead bulged out, and he took a deep breath. Clueless brat. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. Kill. The ice dragon in the sky seemed to have heard his order. It charged toward Wang Ting furiously. Oh shit. Zhuotian Laihua, who was observing silently at the side, was worried. She stared at the ice dragon in bewilderment. Wang Ting had no chance of survival if that astonishing attack landed on him, but soon, she realized that Wang Ting and the troops from country Xia didn't look worried. Instead, they seemed to be waiting for a good show. Their eyes were filled with excitement. Zhuotian Laihua was confused by this scene. What is this? Aren't they worried? Or is there something else going on? Just when Zhuotian Laihua was hesitating, a rumble was heard from the snow mountain below. At the start, the sound wasn't obvious, so many people disregarded it. However, it grew louder and deafening like a clap of thunder echoing in the sky. Boom. Almost instantly, everyone saw the snow mountain below Wang Ting erupting. A crimson glow spurted out. It was dazzling. A scorching heat spread throughout. Boom. Another deafening explosion shook their eardrums. A flame formed from lava shot into the sky. The fire pillar passed through Wang Ting's body but didn't harm him. A green ball of flame appeared around him, covering him up like a green shawl. It laid on him like a cloak and flickered in the wind. Go! Wang Ting shouted. The fire pillar seemed alive. It gathered into a lava dragon in the sky and shot towards the ice dragon. The evil clansmen were thunderstruck, staring absent-mindedly at the lava dragon. They were at a loss for words. How was this possible? Many people started muttering to themselves in disbelief. They didn't think that such a powerful fire element array could be formed within the snow mountains. Even the Pope was bewildered and puzzled. Why was there lava here? He couldn't accept this and felt a little awkward. A moment ago, he was telling them confidently that his array made full use of the topography and the troops' array wouldn't be able to fight with theirs. However, roar, roar. The two dragons bellowed and roared. Then, they collided in the air. Boom. At the start, the two giant dragons started corroding each other. They were of an equal match. But as time passed, the ice dragon started melting under the high heat. Roar. The lava dragon bellowed and swallowed the ice dragon. The ice dragon melted, evaporated, and disappeared in the blink of an eye. All the evil clansmen were shocked. They stared at the sky with wide eyes and took a few steps back uncontrollably when they saw the flying lava dragon. If the lava dragon touched them, even a martial warrior might turn into ashes. No one dared to underestimate the power of the lava dragon. Zhuotian Laihua was stunned. This array was so powerful. The array that they carved within this short time was so powerful that the Zhenli clan's array was broken almost instantly. This was terrifying. How's my array? Wang Ting stood in midair and asked the Pope calmly. The corners of the Pope's eyes started twitching. He almost couldn't control his expression. This result was different from his expectations. Their array got destroyed so easily. Embarrassing. This was too embarrassing. Zhu Xuanwu laughed secretly. He felt that Wang Ting was the Pope's nightmare. Some distance away, Xiao Nanfeng, who got heavily injured by the Pope, felt delighted when he saw the Pope's awkward expression. Indeed, only an evil man could torture another evil man. He didn't like Wang Ting, but he had to admit that he was strong. It looks like you can't give any comments just by looking. In that case, why don't you experience it yourself? Wang Ting smiled and raised his finger, pointing at the Pope. The lava behind him assembled into 8 gigantic dragons. Roar. The 9 lava dragons roared and dashed towards the Pope. Chapter 713 Golden Ray Earth-Shattering Sword Conscious. 10th level. The lava surged out without stopping from the dormant volcano under the influence of the array. Wang Ting controlled the energy and transformed it into lava dragons. 9 lava dragons appeared in the sky. They coiled and soared down. With their roars thundering in the mountains, it was a magnificent scene. The evil clansmen were appalled. They started running away, leaving their Pope to deal with the 9 lava dragons alone. After all, the lava dragons were aiming for the Pope too. They pressed down furiously, bringing along a scorching heat. Silence. The Pope's face turned black. He didn't expect Wang Ting to be so decisive and attack immediately. Even more, his first move was so powerful. He wanted him to experience it personally. Why would he do something like that? Was he so bored? The Pope wanted to curse. This young lad was a wicked fellow. He wanted to kill him, but he made it sound so pretty. The prettier his words, the more vicious his attacks were. The 9 lava dragons didn't have their own thoughts, so no matter how bitter the Pope felt, they would still attack him. Within a few breaths, the 9 lava dragons were less than 10 meters away from the Pope. Their giant bodies loomed above him, bringing along the scorching temperature of the lava. The crimson bodies were reflected in the Pope's eyes. His pupils constricted slightly. Even as a 13-star general stage martial warrior, he didn't dare to underestimate this attack. The Pope raised the battle sword in his hand and released the force in his body. It gushed out like a tsunami, forming a large golden shield in front of him. Boom! The 9 lava dragons finally arrived. They slammed heavily on the golden shield. The clash was loud and resonant. The golden shield trembled violently. Both sides were at a standstill. Did he block it? The evil clansmen were staggered. They stared at the point of collision. Zhu Xuanwu and the others frowned. Were they unable to defeat the Pope even with the array? Had his ability reached such a frightening stage? Crack. However, At this moment, a clear cracking sound broke the balance. Everyone froze for a moment. Then, more cracking sounds were heard. The crowd looked in the direction of the sound and saw spiderwebs forming on the golden shield. Bang! The golden shield couldn't withstand the pressure anymore and shattered. Astonishment appeared on everyone's faces. Next, the 9 lave dragons turned into a pool of lava and rained down on the Pope, submerging him entirely. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. The evil clansmen lost their ability to speak. Their faces turned pale, and despair gushed into their hearts once again. Even their Pope was defeated. What hope did they have? The martial warriors from the 3 troops were stunned by this scene, but they regained their senses quickly. Kill! Kill all the evil clansmen! Angry shouts echoed, and the martial warriors charged forward. When the enemy's morale fell, the other party's morale would rise. The Zhonli clan's martial warriors were demoralized, so the martial warriors of the 3 troops rode on the wave and took advantage of the situation. The guardians of the Zhonli clan were all at the general stage. They were between 10-star and 12-star. They were the first to bear the brunt of the troops' attack. The deputy commanders of the 3 troops were general stage warriors too. The 2 deputy commanders of the Xuanwu troop were just a level below Ju Xuanwu. They were at the 12-star general stage and were extremely powerful. All the general stage martial warriors possessed amazing destructive skills. They scattered out to prevent injuring one another. The general stage martial warriors turned into balls of lights and slammed continuously into one another, releasing powerful impacts. Some executed fist consciouses, some released palm consciouses, but most of them possessed sword and blade consciouses. At their level, reaching the conscious stage wasn't difficult. It was just a matter of intensity. Boom! Suddenly, there was a loud explosion. An 11-star general stage martial warrior from the Zhonli clan was killed. The person who took his life was a general stage martial warrior from the Xuanwu troop. He chopped the evil clansman's head with his blade, splattering blood everywhere. Attribute bubbles dropped from the evil clansman's body. They fell to the ground along with the corpse. Wang Ting was focused on the lava in front, so he didn't notice the situation here. Fortunately, the bubbles wouldn't disappear anytime soon. He could pick them up later. Following the death of the first general stage martial warrior from the Zhonli clan, the morale of the evil clansmen was impacted once again. The guardians turned grim. They started to feel fearful. General stage martial warriors were also humans. If this continued, they would fall under the enemy's blades. Boom! At this moment, an explosion occurred in the pool created by lava. Crimson, molten lava splashed everywhere. A figure dashed out from within. It was the Pope of the Zhonli clan. He wasn't dead. Everyone was shocked. He's not dead. Ju Xuanwu squinted. Wang Teng wasn't surprised. He had already seen the situation inside the lava using his eyes of essence. The Pope's aura might be a little unstable, but his vitality was still strong. He wouldn't die easily. Your Highness. Your Highness. The martial warriors from the Zhonli clan were elated and started cheering. The Pope ignored their cheers. His face had turned green with anger, and his clothes were all torn and tattered. There were many burnt marks on his skin. He looked miserable. He glared at Wang Ting. You caught me by surprise. Again and again, I suffered in your hands. I haven't seen a young man with such potential for a long time. I accept your compliments, Wang Teng replied shamelessly. The Pope choked. He continued angrily, I won't waste time with you. You should be proud that you managed to force me to this stage. But you're too naive if you think you can kill me. You can have a taste of it again. Wang Teng smiled calmly. Lava flowed out from the ground like a spring. Swoosh. The lava formed a long river and surged towards the Pope. The Pope snorted and raised his sword. A terrifying sword conscious shot into the air. The golden glow was glaring and sharp. Anyone who looked at it would get hurt. They felt a stinging pain in their eyes, and tears started falling uncontrollably. Some weaker martial warriors even had blood dripping down their eyes. Both their eyeballs were injured. The martial warriors turned away, not daring to stare at it anymore. The Pope had a sharp golden glint in his eyes too. He stabbed straight at Wang Teng. Golden Ray Earth-Shattering Sword Conscious, 10th level. Chapter 7:14 Tremor Conscious. Golden Sword Conscious exploded in the sky. On the other side, a stream of lava cut through the air. Everyone was attracted by the battle above. Go! The Pope's gaze turned ruthless. He snorted angrily. The frightening Golden Sword Conscious slashed out. Within a few breaths, it collided with the stream of lava. Boom! A loud, thunderous explosion shook the sky. The stream of lava was forcefully stopped by the Golden Sword Conscious. It froze a few meters above the Pope's head. Everyone was flabbergasted. The martial warriors from the three troops turned serious. They stared intently at the point of collision. Suddenly, Wang Teng's expression changed. He could tell that this sword attack was extraordinary, but he didn't expect it to reach this stage. The golden sword glow forcefully split the stream into two and continued flying towards Wang Teng. Wang Teng, Chief Commander, Zhu Xuanwu, the Xuanwu troop, and the members of the Black Sparrow troop were astounded. They shouted uncontrollably. The martial warriors from the three troops were extremely anxious. Their hearts almost stopped beating. When Zhu Xuanwu fought with the Pope, he wasn't the other party's match. If Wang Ting, who possessed the strength of the array, couldn't defeat him, their mission this time would fail. They might even die here. If that was the case, their mission would be a joke. The loss of half the military strength in three large troops was a major setback for the country. No one could take responsibility for the implications. Even to a big country like Country Xia, it would be a huge blow. Under everyone's worried gaze, Wang Ting squinted his eyes and clenched his fist. He stared directly at the golden sword glow until it was 10 meters away from him. Right then, he moved. Boom! The attack wasn't garish. It was just a simple punch. It wasn't a quick one either. However, the punch seemed exceptional. It passed through space and traveled 10 meters in a split second, smashing right into the golden sword glow. Strength of Ultima. All the forces in Wang Teng's body were activated. Even if they weren't compatible with one another, they merged obediently at this moment and erupted out of his body. Boom! A frightening explosion occurred. Fist glow enveloped the sky and covered up the golden sword glow. Cracking sounds rang out continuously. Multiple lines started to appear on the glowing sword. However, when Wang Ting's fist glow collided with the golden sword glow, he felt a powerful tremor coming from his opponent. The tremor conscious was very strong. It seemed to be able to affect any matter. Even his strength of Ultima fist glow was starting to vibrate. It was about to shatter due to the violent vibration. Furthermore, this sword attack was exceptionally sharp. It could almost cut through everything. Wang Teng's gaze flickered. He released his force to offset the opponent's tremor and sharpness. The fist glow and the sword glow kept sparkling. They entered an equilibrium. However, this balance was extremely weak. It could topple at any moment. As expected, the stalemate didn't last for long. Bang! A dull thud was heard, and the fist and sword glows disintegrated. The impact of the resulting force explosion swept through the mountain. The Pope and Wang Ting were the first to receive the impact. The residual force slammed onto them, knocking them a few meters back. The majority of the martial warriors had escaped far away. However, they were still hit by the aftermath. The sharp force and the terrifying strength knocked against them, leaving bloody scars on their bodies. Their faces turned pale. Fire in the city gates, a calamity for the fish in the moat. They were dumbfounded and frustrated. The crowd continued retreating, staying as far away from the two martial warriors as possible as if they were some terrifying monsters. Zhu Xuanwu stood some distance away and felt the powerful residual force. However, it couldn't hurt him. He was shocked, though. He knew that Wang Ting wasn't weak. He had gone through many unexpected experiences, so you couldn't treat him like a normal 11-star general stage martial warrior. However, he didn't expect Wang Ting to be so powerful. Visit Me for extra chapters. Wang Teng didn't use the strength of the array in that last attack. He used his own fist power to resist the sword conscious from the Pope. With his ability, he knew that the golden sword conscious had reached the peak level. There seemed to be a special power attached to it too. He couldn't guarantee that he would be able to withstand the attack without getting injured. Yet, Wang Teng did the impossible. The other party didn't gain any advantage. Just like others, Xiao Nanfeng was also startled. Wang Teng's ability had exceeded his expectations. This fellow matured too quickly. 1 year ago, he was still being chased by 7-star soldier-level martial warriors. Now, his ability was on par with a martial warrior at the peak of the general stage. If his subordinates appeared in front of Wang Teng again, he would be able to kill them with a pinch of his fingers. Even he himself might not be able to beat Wang Teng. What a huge blow this was. Xiao Nanfeng felt a little bitter. Zhuotian Laihua, who was hiding in a corner, was staring at Wang Ting with her mouth agape. She was at a loss for words. This fellow could fight with the Pope of the Zhonli clan. In the past, she sang praises of the Pope in front of him. Thinking back about it, he was probably not afraid of the other party. After all, he was a formidable martial warrior at the same level. Zhuotian Laihua took a deep breath. This felt like a dream. Wang Teng was so young. How could he be so powerful? Did he start cultivating when he was in his mother's womb? Some distance away, Feng Quan and Feng Hua's faces had turned green. Fear. They didn't expect Wang Ting to be so mighty. Even if they could escape, they would live in fear because they had offended a powerful martial warrior. Wang Teng and the Pope stopped themselves in the air and stared at each other. They could see the seriousness in each other's gazes. The Pope remained silent. He had started to view Wang Teng in a different light. At the start, he thought that Zhu Xuanwu was his greatest enemy among the troops. Now, he knew that Wang Ting was the real difficult person to deal with. Wang Ting scanned the ground and noticed a few attribute bubbles that had dropped during the battle just now. Metal Force *460 Golden Ray Earth-Shattering Sword Conscious, 10th level, *60 Constellation Force, Metal, *25. He picked them up hurriedly. His mind trembled, and he gained new enlightenment. I see. This Golden Ray Earth-Shattering Sword Conscious is a combination of the Metal Sword Conscious and the Tremor Conscious. Wang Ting muttered to himself. His gaze turned strange. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 7:15. You can defeat any opponent by being despicable. Wang Teng's eyes were shimmering. He was enlightened, and a golden sword glow flashed past his eyes. Golden Ray Earth-Shattering Sword Conscious. He grasped the sword conscious the Pope had executed using an unexplainable method. The Pope had already reached the 10th level, so Wang Ting started directly from there. He jumped 9 levels at once. Golden Ray Earth-Shattering Sword Conscious, 10,000, 10th level. Also, what you saw on the surface wasn't the real gain. There was Tremor Conscious in the Golden Ray Earth-Shattering Sword Conscious. This was an entirely new conscious. Tremor. It could affect everything. Air, metal, water, earth, and even other consciouses and ultima. Everything could be affected by it. Once the vibration frequency reached a certain level, any object, no matter how tough and hard, would crumble under the vibration. No wonder his strength of ultima almost broke just now. This tremor conscious was a bug. However, this bug was in his possession now. The Pope would never imagine that the conscious he had worked so hard to grasp would get stolen by Wang Ting so easily. Wang Ting smiled slyly like a little fox. He thanked the Pope sincerely. Thank you. The Pope was in a daze. What was going on? Why was this fellow thanking him? Most importantly, he could feel the sincerity in his gratitude. He wasn't acting. His expression was real. Was there something wrong with his mind? Why was he thanking his enemy? Would a normal person do this? Zhuotian Laihua and Zhu Xuanwu were stunned too. They couldn't understand Wang Teng's actions. The Pope couldn't comprehend Wang Teng's thought process, but he felt unhappy when he saw his smile. He snorted and vanished from his position. Wang Ting turned serious. Not daring to let down his guard, he moved quickly like a ghost. Boom! They turned into two balls of lights, one gold and one red, and collided in the air. Rune Masters, continue running the array and exterminate the Zhenli clan. Wang Teng's voice resounded in the ball of light. Yes, the Rune Masters replied in unison. Boom! The rune array continued running. Lava gushed out and turned into a giant dragon. It charged toward the martial warriors from the Zhenli clan. The Rune Masters from the Zhenli clan were manipulating their array too. They gathered the ice energy in the atmosphere and turned it into an ice dragon. It started clawing the lava dragon in the sky. Boom, 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 explosions never stopped. The martial warriors from both sides continued their intense and fierce battle. Wang Ting, let me help you. Zhu Xuanwu didn't sit back either. With a loud shout, he joined the battle between the Pope and Wang Ting. The intensity of the battle rose. The outline of a turtle appeared above Zhu Xuanwu's head. It bellowed and dashed out along with the blade glow. The blade attack was dense and powerful. The thick yellow light dazzled the crowd, submerging everything in its path. The Pope had no choice but to retreat. His expression was hideous. Wang Ting launched his attack almost immediately after Zhu Xuanwu. Mo Qiu appeared in his hand, and he hurled his blade and sword consciences out as if they were unlimited. Instantly, claps of thunder, splashes of waves, and howls of the wind resounded in the sky. They wreaked havoc among the clouds, creating a unique and magnificent scene. All the martial warriors retreated in astonishment. They finally understood how Wang Ting was able to become the chief commander of the Black Sparrow Troop at his young age. His ability was heaven-defying. The martial warriors from the Zhenli clan were bewildered. Seeing this, the martial warriors from the three troops grabbed the chance and attacked like a bunch of maniacs. Cries of agony surrounded the mountains. The martial warriors started falling like droplets of rain. Boom! Boom! The battlefield was like a concert of explosions. General stage martial warriors fell and self-destructed at the last instant, sparking a frightening chain reaction. Within a few minutes, around 5 to 6 general stage martial warriors from the Zhenli clan had sacrificed their lives. Their numbers dwindled quickly. On the troops' side, some general stage martial warriors were injured, but there were no deaths. Visit Ria.me for extra chapters. By now, the general stage martial warriors on the troops' side more than doubled the number from the Zhenli clan. The situation was irreversible. As for the soldier-level martial warriors, there were casualties on both sides, but the three troops had the upper hand. There were lesser deaths among the high-ranked martial warriors from the troops, and this was a crucial element in this battle. One high-rank martial warrior could handle more than 10 low-rank martial warriors. Hence, the victory of the troops was almost apparent. The Pope's expression turned ugly when he saw this scene. He knew that the Zhenli clan was powerless now. Nothing much about it could be done. The hatred towards Wang Ting and his companions grew stronger. However, he knew that if this continued, he might lose his life here too. Wang Teng's ability had exceeded his imagination. Moreover, Zhu Xuanwu had also joined the battle. Even he found it difficult to handle the duo. The Pope blinked. Suddenly, a shout was heard beside him. Big Dipper flaming blade. The Pope felt his heart skipping a beat. He swung his sword and forced Zhu Xuanwu back. Then, he flung it in the direction of the sound. Boom! A flaming blade glow collided with his sword glow. It extinguished instantly. The Pope was stunned for a moment. This attack was too weak. It shattered at a single hit and wasn't as powerful as the other attacks. Before he could react, a black mist shot out from the extinguished blade glow and engulfed him. Oh shit! The Pope's expression changed. He held his breath and used force to block all his pores. Still, it was too late. The black mist seeped into his body instantly. He had experienced Wang Ting's poison before, so he knew how difficult it was to deal with. He had a bad premonition. They were in a battle, so he didn't have the time to clear the poison force in his body. He didn't think that he would fall into Wang Ting's trap due to a moment of negligence. Despicable. You used poison, despicable. The Pope glared at Wang Ting. Flames of anger almost shot out of his eyes. You can defeat any opponent by being despicable. Wang Teng sniggered. Silence. Zhu Xuanwu glanced at him weirdly. He had great admiration for Wang Teng's shamelessness. He had to admit that he made sense. You can defeat any opponent by being despicable. Should he be more despicable when fighting with his opponents in the future? No, no. Zhu Xuanwu shook his head hurriedly. He shouldn't do something that would tarnish his reputation. He needed to think about his future. Move. Take his life when he's poisoned. Wang Teng ordered Zhu Xuanwu to act without any hesitation. He hid the poison force in his flaming conscience and threw it at the Pope when he was struggling to cope with their barrage of attacks. That was how he managed to poison the Pope. It wasn't an easy feat. The Pope was poisoned with the demon lotus poison. His ability was affected, so this was the perfect time to kill him. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 7:16 So, you can die. 1. Zhu Xuanwu reacted in time and followed closely behind Wang Teng. He charged toward the Pope. This was a rare chance. Wang Teng waited for a long time before he found this opportunity. If the Pope remained vigilant right from the start, he wouldn't have gotten tricked so easily. You could say that luck played a huge role in this result. Of course, Wang Teng's shamelessness helped a lot too. Someone like Zhu Xuanwu would never think of a despicable trick like using poison. The Pope was so frustrated that he wanted to vomit blood. He realized that if he used his force, it would hasten the speed at which the poison invaded his body. However, he didn't have a choice. If he didn't use his force, he would die. Wang Teng and Zhu Xuanwu wouldn't let him go easily. The Pope's mind worked furiously. He quickly made a decision. He turned and ran away. Run. He must escape. If there was life, there was hope. This wasn't the time to be stubborn. He would be killed if he didn't run away. He turned into a ray of light and escaped into the distance, abandoning his subordinates and the entire base of the Zhenli clan. Your Highness. The martial warriors from the Zhenli clan screamed in despair when they saw this scene. They felt the anger of being betrayed. Was their Pope forsaking them and escaping on his own? All the martial warriors were in disbelief. They were flabbergasted. You will all die for the Zhenli clan. It is a worthy death. The Zhenli clan will not forget its saviors. Everyone, don't worry, I'll take revenge for you. The Pope escaped quickly as his sorrowful voice echoed over. The martial warriors from the Zhenli clan screamed in anger. After finally seeing their Pope's true face, they felt their world crumbling. Many martial warriors from the Zhenli clan were brainwashed and fooled. To them, the Zhenli clan was everything. They thought that their mission was to save the world as the saviors. However, the Pope destroyed their illusion. They weren't saviors of the world. They were just a bunch of rats getting surrounded and killed. How pitiful. How sorrowful. Wang Teng and Zhu Xuanwu were stunned and puzzled when they saw the Pope suddenly running away. Did the legendary Pope of the Zhenli clan throw away his dignity and run away? He left without any hesitation. The evil clansmen weren't the only ones who couldn't accept it. They found it unbelievable too. Any formidable warrior had their dignity. The Pope of the Zhenli clan was a powerful fellow. Hence, his actions were a little unexpected. Chase. Wang Teng didn't stop. His speed increased exponentially as he chased after the Pope, leaving a trail of lingering shadows behind him. He took so much effort to force him into a tight corner. He wouldn't let him escape so easily. Besides, the Pope was the core of the Zhenli clan. If he escaped, the clan might reappear in another corner of the world. It would grow secretly and continue to make trouble in the world. This person must die. Zhu Xuanwu understood this logic too, so he followed behind them hurriedly without any hesitation. Commander Xiao, stay behind and exterminate the other martial warriors from the Zhenli clan. No one must be left out. Visit Ria Del. Me for extra chapters. His voice sounded beside Xiao Nanfeng's ears. Xiao Nanfeng was exasperated. He was also a chief commander, yet he could only stay back and clear up the scene while Wang Teng and Zhu Xuanwu chased after the Pope. The credit for annihilating the Zhonli clan would mostly be given to Wang Teng and Zhu Xuanwu. He would be lucky to get a spoonful. At this moment, Wang Teng and Zhu Xuanwu had caught up with the Pope. They shouted, "Stop running! Surrender and we might spare your life." The Pope increased his speed when he heard this. "Do you think that he'll believe you? If he didn't run, he would die." He wasn't stupid. Based on his experiences, he knew that country Xia wouldn't let him go. Wang Ting yelled again when he saw the Pope quickening his pace. "You can't run away. Do you feel your force stagnating? The more you use it, the more you can't control your body. Do you remember the poison I placed in your body while you were in the sleeping cabin? Both poisons came from the same source. You thought that you had cleared it completely, but it was actually hiding in your body. Once a new poison enters your body, the two will attract each other and penetrate your body at a speed faster than you can imagine." The Pope's expression changed entirely. He was flabbergasted. He was right. Wang Teng was right. His body was in a tragic state. His actions and thoughts had slowed down. If this continued, he wouldn't be able to escape. Stop struggling for nothing. This will only increase the poison's spread. At that time, you will die without us doing anything, Wang Teng continued. He got more excited as he spoke. How can my poison force be suppressed so easily? If you don't clear it in time, you will die a terrible death. Your entire body will rot. The pain will be excruciating. The process will start from your head. You will drop hair and become a bald man first. Take a long hard look at your smooth long hair for one last time. None will be left in a bit. Next is your face. Your skin will dry up bit by bit. Your eyes will go blind, your neck will decompose, and your tongue will decay. Your ears will be filled with pus and you will turn into a hideous monster. You will look horrifying. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 717 So, you can die. 2. This isn't the scariest part because you haven't died yet. The muscles on your body will start corroding inch by inch, starting from the neck. Your vocal cords will be destroyed, and you won't be able to make any sounds. After that, your organs will rot. You can stop thinking about eating. After all, whatever you eat will leak out from your stomach. Oh right, your reproductive organs will drop from your body too. Zhu Xuanwu frowned. It was starting to sound a little strange. Wang Teng's tongue was honestly sharp. It was like a knife cutting through your flesh. The description could scare the Pope, but what was with that last sentence? What did he mean by the reproductive organs would drop? What kind of evil and outrageous words were these? Zhu Xuanwu suddenly realized that being Wang Teng's enemy was torture. He admitted that he was afraid. If he was poisoned, he wouldn't dare to take the risk. He wondered what the Pope would do. Patches of green and black had appeared on the Pope's face. This was caused by the poison. After hearing Wang Teng's words, he felt even worse. What kind of poison was this? Why was it so scary? Was that evil young man saying the truth? He shuddered at the thought of it, his hair standing up on ends. Even if there was just a slight chance of it happening, he didn't dare to take the risk. If Wang Teng was right, how would he survive? An angry person could do anything. The Pope's eyes became bloodshot. Despite having a strong mindset, at this stage, he was like a cornered lion. He knew his current situation clearly. If the poison in his body continued to take effect, he would be crippled even if he managed to escape. The problem was, he didn't know if he could run away either. Hence, he decided to take the risk. Formidable martial warriors were decisive and ruthless. But he still hesitated for a split second after he made his decision. This is a good chance. Wang Teng's eyes lit up. He executed his space talent and appeared behind the Pope while he was hesitating. He slashed his sword down. The Pope didn't think that Wang Teng had this skill. He was caught off guard and tried to evade the attack. But it was too late. Splurt. The blade chopped off his left arm, splattering fresh blood in the air. An arm was sent flying. Ah! The Pope screamed in pain. Wang Ting, this is outrageous. Even if I die, I'll drag you down with me. The Pope bellowed in anger. His expression was distorted, and his gaze turned crazy. He wanted to give it his all one last time, but Wang Ting shattered his hope by chopping his arm. His battle power had decreased greatly. He felt that he had no chance of survival anymore. A glaring glow erupted from his body. Frightening energy waves swarmed out. Run. He's going to self-destruct. Wang Ting saw the restless forces churning in his body through his spiritual sight. Thus, he knew what the Pope wanted to do. Zhu Xuanwu's expression changed. He retreated without thinking. Wang Ting was swift too. He executed his space talent and disappeared on the spot. The light around the Pope was getting thicker. The next second, an ear-piercing explosion occurred. Boom! A mushroom cloud appeared in the sky. The ground shook, and the peak trembled like an earthquake. Large patches of snow that had been there for who knew how long started falling. The vibration was getting violent with each passing second. Visit Ria Del. Me for extra chapters. Boom. Finally, a terrifying avalanche was created. Snow poured down the mountain. The star beasts in the mountains were alarmed. They crawled out of their hiding spots to take a look, but no beast dared to move too close. The energy waves were too powerful. Even Lord-level star beasts were afraid. The martial warriors at the base of the Zhonli clan heard this tremendous explosion too. They were appalled. They didn't know what had happened and were worried and anxious. Zhu Xuanwu didn't manage to get too far, so he was caught in the impact and suffered some injuries. Fortunately, they weren't fatal and he didn't hurt his core. He was already extremely lucky. The Pope was at the peak of the 13-star general stage. Moreover, he had converted 1% of his force into constellation force. Thus, his self-destruction was very powerful. Zhu Xuanwu's face was white as he looked at the center of the explosion worriedly. Wang Ting was too close to the Pope. He wondered if he had managed to leave in time. The residual impact of the self-destruction remained in the air for a long time. Snow continued to fall down. This patch of the mountain became a scary and dangerous place. Zhu Xuanwu had to fly higher and scan the ground below to search for Wang Ting. At this moment, somewhere beside him, the space started to distort. Zhu Xuanwu turned around abruptly and saw Wang Ting stepping out unscathed. "Why are you in such a miserable state?" Wang Ting was stunned when he saw Zhu Xuanwu. Silence. Zhu Xuanwu didn't know what to say. He got injured even though he was further away. Wang Ting was right with the Pope, yet he was safe. Why was he so weak? Cough, it's all right. Don't be disheartened. Other people might suffer worse injuries than you. Wang Ting realized that he might have stimulated Zhu Xuanwu unknowingly, so he coughed awkwardly and consoled him. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 718. So, you can die. 3. Are you sure you're comforting me? Zhu Xuanwu was speechless. Of course. There's no doubt about it, Wang Ting said seriously. All right, let's not waste any time. The Pope should be dead now, right? Zhu Xuanwu rolled his eyes and asked. Should be. He must have turned into minced meat now. Suddenly, he remembered something and activated his eyes of essence to scan the ground below. Huh! His gaze paused for a moment. Then he snorted and said, "Give me a moment." Wang Ting disappeared and went to the center of the explosion. Only residual forces were left here now. They wouldn't hurt him. He stood on the ground and smiled. Then, he started speaking to the seemingly empty surroundings. You're a sly old fox. You tried to use this method to escape. However, I must admit that you're brutal. You destroyed your own body and left a wisp of origin of soul. If I wasn't careful enough, you would have run away. He seemed to be talking to himself. There was no response. Only the residual forces danced in the air. You still haven't given up, have you? Wang Ting sneered. He stopped talking and released his spiritual power along with a strand of emerald-glazed flame. The ground in front of him exploded, and a crystal skull flew out. It wanted to run away. However, Wang Ting was prepared. The emerald-glazed flame swept over and formed a cage around the crystal skull. Wang Ting. A bitter and exasperated voice came from within the crystal skull. It belonged to the Pope. The Pope's spiritual power had reached the Emperor realm, so the power of his origin of soul should be at the same level. By right, he couldn't detach his origin of soul from his body. Wang Ting was suspicious at the start, but when he saw the crystal skull, he understood. This was a special crystal skull. It could store one's origin of soul. The Pope's origin of soul couldn't leave the crystal skull. He would have done it if he could. "Loser, stop barking," Wang Ting said calmly. "Ah, this shouldn't have happened." The Pope roared in anger. "If I knew about this, I should have opened a dimensional rift and brought the dark apparitions over. I'd have made sure you died with me. Indeed, you should die. Why are you still thinking of bringing the dark apparitions over? You can't remain in this world." Wang Ting's gaze turned cold. He instilled his spiritual power into the crystal skull and scanned it. Immediately, he found where the Pope's origin of soul was. "What are you doing?" The Pope screamed in terror when he felt the powerful spiritual power. "Killing you." Wang Ting pulled his origin of soul forcefully out of the crystal skull. It was a muddy ball of light that was flickering like burning flames. However, it had dimmed a little. Wang Ting didn't show any mercy. The emerald-glazed flame flowed out. "Wait, if you let me go, I'll tell you the way to convert force into constellation force." The Pope got frightened when he felt the heat of the flame. He shouted in a hurry. "I know it already. You don't have to tell me. You know it." "How's that possible?" the Pope asked in disbelief. "I just know it. You might treat it as a secret, but I've already grasped it," Wang Ting said confidently. Actually, he didn't know the Pope's method, but he wasn't worried. He was a bug. Was this a problem for him? This was a huge blow for the Pope. He believed Wang Ting after he saw his confident expression. This young man was mysterious and powerful. He had no choice but to believe him. Visit Riadel.me for extra chapters. Are you done speaking? If you are, you can leave, Wang Ting said. Wait. The Pope replied quickly, I can tell you an astonishing secret. I don't want to know. The Pope was stunned. What the hell? Why wasn't he following the script? So, you can die now. Wang Ting scoffed. He released his emerald-glazed flame, swallowing the Pope. The origin of soul struggled frantically. The Pope howled in exasperation and unwillingness. No. Swoosh. With a soft sound, the Pope of the Zhonli clan, who had ruled the region for so many years, turned into a wisp of green smoke and disappeared from the world. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 719 Making some contributions after your death is fine, right? 1. Wang Ting held the crystal skull in his hand and used his spiritual power to sense it. He only felt at ease when he confirmed that the Pope was gone. The Pope was a crafty guy. Wang Ting didn't know if he had other paths of retreat. But currently, it looked as if the crystal skull was the last method he could use. It made sense. Spirit was something profound. He hadn't heard of any methods from Earth or the Xingwu continent that was able to protect a person's spirit without the body. Even the abyss burial skill he got on Mount Saint was just a special battle technique with an extremely low success rate of hitting the soul out of one's body. Also, it wasn't a normal method. It would cause great damage to the soul of the body. Abyss burial was a forceful separation of the soul from the body. The damage it caused to the soul couldn't be healed. The soul that left the body wouldn't be able to survive for long in the outside world either. It would disintegrate and disappear unless it was kept in the death space. The death space was the legacy of the Cancer Palace. The thick death aura in that space allowed the souls to survive inside. Well, it was more appropriate to call them death souls rather than souls. They had no consciousness and were controlled by others. They were just floating inside aimlessly. In summary, The death space of the Cancer Palace was a unique presence that wasn't perfect. Hence, it could be seen how hard it was for the soul to leave the body. As for the Pope's origin of soul, it was able to leave the body with the help of the crystal skull. Wang Teng was sure about this. After all, the Pope's spirit was only at the Emperor realm while his was at the Imperial realm. If he couldn't do it, how could the Pope? Wang Ting kept his emerald-glazed flame and scanned his surroundings. There were many attribute bubbles floating in the air. His eyes lit up instantly. These attribute bubbles were dropped by the Pope when he died. These were the attribute bubbles of a 13-star high-tier general stage martial warrior. They were hard to come by. There must be good stuff among them. Wang Teng released his spiritual power and swept the attribute bubbles over hurriedly. Emperor Realm Spirit *560 Emperor Realm Enlightenment *620 Origin of Soul *10 Ultimate Stage Metal Talent *480 Tremor Talent *350 Metal Force *8600 Constellation Force, Metal, *850 Golden Ray Earth-Shattering Sword Conscious *380 Golden Ray Sword Skill *250 Wang Teng kept the attribute bubbles silently and felt the changes in his body and the new knowledge in his mind. He received many unfamiliar memories. The spirit and enlightenment of the Pope were both at the Emperor realm. Thus, the number was sizable even when converted to the Imperial realm. He received 56 points of spirit and 62 points of enlightenment. Spirit, 1662 3000, Imperial realm, enlightenment, 1758 3000, Imperial realm. Wang Teng was satisfied as he looked at the changes in these two attributes on his attributes panel. There was a good increase in his spirit and enlightenment. He was halfway through his journey in breaking through the Imperial realm. The end was in sight. He then focused on the origin of soul. This was an unexpected gain. After all, the origin of soul was extremely rare. A normal kill wouldn't give him the origin of soul attribute unless he attacked the soul of his opponent. The Pope was making things difficult for himself. He removed his own soul from his body, giving Wang Teng a chance to burn it to death. Hence, he got some precious origin of soul attributes. As this origin of soul came from the Pope, ordinary people wouldn't be able to absorb it. It would contaminate their own soul. The consequences were serious. It was like sewing another person's limbs on your body. You would definitely become a monster. Visit Riadel. Me for extra chapters. However, the system was a bug. The origin of soul would be purified by the system and become a clean and pure soul. That was why Wang Ting was able to absorb it without any implications. 10 points of origin of soul was a sizable number. As the origin of soul merged into his body, Wang Ting felt a comfortable sensation washing over him. He almost moaned in comfort. It felt as if his soul had risen to heaven and almost couldn't come back. Wang Ting shuddered and quickly regained his senses. He took a few seconds to calm down before letting out a long sigh. 2 sharp glints shot out of his eyes. His gaze turned deep and profound. Wang Teng looked at his attributes panel again and continued scrolling down. Ultimate Stage Metal Talent, 465,000 Tremor Talent, 357,002 Talent. Wang Ting already had the ultimate stage metal talent, but the additional attribute allowed his talent to grow stronger. It was advantageous for his cultivation. Another one was the unique tremor talent. The Golden Ray Earth-Shattering Sword Conscious he received from the Pope some time ago contained the tremor conscious. Wang Ting was extremely surprised at that time because the Pope had managed to grasp such a special conscious. Now, he understood. The Pope had a special talent. It was easier for him to grasp the tremor conscious. Wang Teng's eyes shimmered when he saw this talent. He closed his eyes hurriedly and sensed the changes in his body. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 720 Making some contributions after your death is fine, right? 2. A certain change occurred in his body. He could release a tremor whenever he wanted. At the same time, the memories of this talent appeared in his mind. The tremor talent could create vibrations. It was easy to use too. Once the vibration inside the body reached the same frequency as the tremor outside, it would spark the tremor force. This talent could be useless but frightening. Why was it useless? The requirements for this talent were extremely high. The vibration frequency in the body had to be the same as the frequency outside. The higher the frequency, the greater the power. However, the higher the frequency, the greater the pressure on the body. Once the body couldn't withstand the frequency, it would collapse. The Pope understood this disadvantage, so he found another method of using it. That was through the tremor conscious. As such, he wouldn't need to use his body to withstand the force of the tremor. He only needed to instill it into his attacks, and it would have the same effect. But the effects were limited. There was a vast difference from the real power of tremor force. The Pope might have evaded the disadvantage of this talent using this method, but he neglected the essentials. If he had decided to push the boundaries of his physique, his body would have been able to withstand a certain degree of tremor force. He didn't need to train his physique until it was extremely strong. He only needed to release his tremor talent entirely. After all, this was a physique talent. Someone with this talent would definitely have a stronger resistance to tremor force than a normal person. If the Pope had grasped the tremor talent entirely, Wang Teng felt that he would have a harder time killing him. Wang Teng's eyes shone when he thought about this. This talent was suitable for him. His physical body was strong enough to handle the tremor force. Wang Teng finally realized how important a tough body was to a martial warrior. In the past, there was the amalgamate blade scripture. Now, there was the tremor talent. These powerful and unique skills and talents required the body to be strong and tough. Wang Teng won on the starting line. This further showed the importance of training one's body from a young age. The tremor talent was capped at 7,000 points. The highest limit of his other talents was 10,000 points. This meant that the tremor talent wasn't the most powerful one. Wang Ting cultivated the ancient god's body, so this tremor talent wasn't a problem for him. He stretched his hand. The muscles and bones under his palm, as well as the cells in his body, were vibrating. The vibration started to grow stronger gradually. The frequency started to increase too. Suddenly, the air in front of him started trembling. As his vibration frequency increased, the air started trembling even more. Crack. A faint cracking sound was heard. Bang. Suddenly, a dull bang occurred, and a thin black crack appeared in front of him. A terrifying and cold fluctuation could be felt inside the black crack. Wang Ting knew that this was a dimensional rift. At this moment, his expression changed and he hurriedly stopped the vibration of the cells in his body. In that short moment, a large number of cells in his body had died. The ancient god's body might be powerful, but so was the tremor power. Since it was strong enough to open a dimensional rift, it could also cause damage to his body. Of course, this was just a small injury. His body wouldn't collapse so easily. Wang Teng stopped because he didn't want to injure himself for nothing. This talent is indeed exceptional. Wang Teng's eyes glowed brightly, and a smile appeared on the edge of his lips. If I can increase this tremor talent to the perfected stage, I can execute a stronger tremor. At that time, I can shatter the body of a 13-star general stage marital warrior. Wang Teng felt extremely good about himself. He kept his thoughts and looked at the force row. This time, he had gained 8,600 points of metal force. This allowed his metal force to rise exponentially and enter the 12-star general stage. Visit Ria Del. Me for extra chapters. This was his first force that had reached the 12-star general stage. He had to admit that a 13-star high-tier general stage martial warrior was indeed powerful. He dropped 8,600 points of force attribute. Wang Ting had never received so many attributes from a single person. A 13-star high-tier general stage martial warrior was an attribute-making machine. Beside the normal metal force, he also received 850 points of constellation metal force. This was a large amount too. Mind you, Wang Teng only had less than 100 points of constellation metal force now. Even the earliest constellation force he had, the fire force, was only at around 300 points. He had worked hard to reach this number. Now, he received 850 at once. It felt as if he struck the lottery. Constellation force was powerful. He had experienced it personally when fighting with the Pope. The same attack could be many times stronger when the constellation force was used. The Pope didn't have much constellation force. If not, he would have been stronger. Metal force, 1285 35,000, 12-star, constellation force, metal 935. Finally, Wang Ting also received 380 points of Golden Ray Earth-Shattering Sword Conscious and 250 points of Golden Ray Sword Skill. One was a 10th level Sword Conscious while the other was a Metal Element Skyrank Skill and Battle Technique. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 721. Making some contributions after your death is fine, right? 3. The Golden Ray Sword Skill was a scripture cultivation skill that comprised of a scripture and an attacking skill. Its value was many times greater than a normal scripture or a battle technique. Golden Ray Earth-Shattering Sword Conscious, 440 10,000, 10th level, Golden Ray Sword Skill, 15500, small achievement, 380 points of the Golden Ray Sword Skill attribute moved him into the small achievement stage directly. Memories appeared in Wang Ting's mind. His understanding of this skill was the same as someone who had practiced it for 2 to 3 years. The speed was amazing. Overall, his gains were great. As expected of the big boss. He dropped the most attribute bubbles. The Pope died a worthy death. He had been wreaking havoc for so many years, so it made sense for him to make some contributions after he died. Wang Ting. At this moment, the residual impact had dispersed. Zhu Xuanwu came down and called Wang Ting. Is the Pope dead? He had heard the Pope's sorrowful cry before he died. Yes. Wang Ting had already kept the crystal skull. He turned to look at Zhu Xuanwu and replied calmly, "He's very sly. He wanted to escape using his origin of soul, but I discovered him and burned him to death." Origin of soul? Zhu Xuanwu was shocked. The Pope could escape using his origin of soul. This wasn't a skill normal martial warriors would possess. But Wang Ting stunned him the most. He didn't realize that the Pope had escaped using his origin of soul, yet Wang Ting noticed it and caught him. He even killed him. This was a mysterious young man. He admit that he couldn't do this. Since the Pope's dead, let's hurry back. The battle at the base might still be ongoing, Zhu Xuanwu said. Okay. Wang Ting had no objections. They turned into rays of light and rushed back to the Zhonli clan's base. Before they arrived, they heard the fighting sounds from afar. The remaining martial warriors from the Zhonli clan were still frantically resisting. No one wanted to give up until the last moment. Nobody wanted to die. Besides, they were the martial warriors from the Zhonli clan, the ones who thought that they had grasped the truth. But, when Wang Ting and Zhu Xuanwu came back, the clansmen turned pale. Their gazes were filled with despair. On the other hand, the martial warriors from the 3 troops were elated. Chief Commander, victory to the Black Sparrow troop, victory to the Xuanwu troop, victory to the Crimson Tiger troop. The martial warriors started cheering with joy. They had no qualms anymore. They charged forward and slashed the martial warriors from the Zhonli clan one by one. Cries of pain sounded continuously. They echoed in everyone's ears, but no one showed any mercy. Everyone in the Zhonli clan had killed innocent people in their lives. They wouldn't be able to answer to those innocent lives lost if they let them escape. Wang Ting and Zhu Xuanwu started fighting too. Once the 2 most powerful martial warriors in the troops joined the battle, there was no chance for the Zhonli clan to resist. They were like 2 meat choppers. Their weapons slashed the enemies around them wherever they went. They killed from one side to another. Many general stage martial warriors from the Zhonli clan had died. Only a few were left. Feng Quan was one of them. He had many skills to survive. He wanted to escape, but he got blocked by a general stage martial warrior from the Xuanwu troop. He didn't have the chance. Wang Ting disappeared on the spot and arrived in front of Feng Quan in a split second. Feng Quan. An eerie voice came from his throat as if he were Hades. Feng Quan shuddered. His heart almost jumped out of his throat. His head turned numb, and he felt goosebumps all over his body. It was him. It was that brat. I'm going to die. Feng Quan was appalled. He screamed in despair in his heart. But he was decisive. He knew how frightening Wang Teng was, so he stopped evading the attacks of the martial warrior in front of him. He charged toward him directly. Swoosh! A sword stabbed into his body. The martial warrior was thrown back by his palm too. Feng Quan took the chance to fly far away, making one last effort to escape. Old fellow, where are you going? Wang Teng's voice appeared behind him again, echoing around him. Feng Quan's face turned green. He ran even faster. Don't run. You wanted to kill me, right? Why are you running away? Wang Teng followed him closely. He didn't attack and only maintained a close distance while throwing jeers at him. Feng Quan panicked. He was extremely tense and terrified. This felt frustrating. He knew that he couldn't escape from Wang Teng, but he didn't want to wait for death either. He could only try his best to find a chance of survival in this situation. A cornered beast would put up a desperate fight. He was that beast. Thus, a funny scene appeared on the battlefield. A guardian was scurrying around like a frightened mouse. When he thought that he had escaped, a figure would appear in front of him and block his path. Feng Quan jumped in fright. He changed direction and tried to find another way to escape. Unfortunately, after running for a long time, he still couldn't escape the pursuit. Visit Riadel. Me for extra chapters. Feng Quan panted heavily. His eyes were bloodshot, and he was on the verge of breaking down. Wang Ting. He couldn't stand it anymore. He roared in anger and glanced around him. He tried to find Wang Ting. The other martial warriors felt pity for him when they saw his tragic state. They would rather die than be in that situation. Feng Hua was hiding far away. He was grievously injured and looked miserable too. He trembled in fear when he saw his father's situation. This is so scary. Wang Teng wasn't a human. He was a devil. He didn't understand why he had offended this devil. Wang Ting, I think it's enough. He's a guardian. Let him die with dignity, Zhu Xuanwu shouted from afar. He couldn't stand the sight of it either. Since you have spoken, I'll give you some face. Wang Teng's voice sounded. He appeared behind Feng Quan, and a golden ray of light cut through the air. It slammed down heavily. Feng Quan was frightened. He wanted to dodge but it was too late. Bang, bang, bang. In an instant, a pig's head appeared in front of everyone. It staggered and fell to the ground. Boom. Feng Quan's body slammed on the mountain with a loud bang. I was wrong. He spoke with difficulty. His voice, which was filled with regret, echoed in the mountain. Everyone was flabbergasted. Yu Wangting looked around and saw Zhu Xuanwu's astounded gaze. He asked, "What do you think? Is this good enough? Do you call this a dignified death?" Zhu Xuanwu exclaimed in surprise. I think so. Wang Teng nodded seriously. He looked around and asked, anyone wants to die with dignity? I can fulfill his wish. Gasp. All the martial warriors from the Zhenli clan retreated as far as they could. Some martial warriors broke down and threw their weapons away. They kneeled and begged for mercy. Spare me. I surrender. Stop killing. Please show some mercy. The martial warriors from the Zhenli clan were terrified. Their faces were white, and they had no courage to resist anymore. Wang Teng's method had crushed their last ounce of courage. Damn it, this works too. Zhu Xuanwu's jaws almost dropped to the floor. He cursed uncontrollably. He had fought so hard to kill his opponents, but they didn't surrender. Wang Ting just fooled around a little and managed to scare these unruly martial warriors from the Zhenli clan into submission. This wasn't right. Zhu Xuanwu felt unconvinced. He wasn't the only one. The martial warriors from the three troops were dumbfounded too. Their mouths were agape. Were they supposed to continue fighting? Their opponents had surrendered. How could they continue? If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, Right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 722, A Small Breakthrough. And Punishment. 1. The martial warriors from the three troops felt a little exasperated. The survivors were kneeling down. This wasn't the result they had expected. The martial warriors from the Zhenli clan had taken too many lives. Even killing them was too easy a punishment for them. However, they chose to throw their guts away and surrender. The martial warriors from the three troops were from the military, so they couldn't kill anyone that surrendered. All the martial warriors from the three troops looked at Zhu Xuanwu, Wang Teng, and Xiao Nanfeng. They were the only people who could make the decision. If the three chief commanders asked them to kill, they would slaughter the martial warriors from the Zhenli clan without any mercy. Zhu Xuanwu, Wang Teng, and Xiao Nanfeng glanced at one another. They conversed using voice transmission. All the martial warriors from the Zhenli clan were nervous. Their lives were in the hands of these three chief commanders. More and more martial warriors surrendered as time passed. A small portion was unwilling to give up, but they knew that they had no more chance. They couldn't even escape. Once they made a move, the martial warriors from the three troops would kill them mercilessly. They understood this from their cold gazes. Hence, none of the martial warriors from the Zhenli clan dared to move. They didn't even want to test their luck. Very soon, the three chief commanders arrived at their conclusion. Zhu Xuanwu walked in front of everyone and ordered in a cold voice, "Anyone that puts down their weapons will be spared." Sigh. All the martial warriors from the Zhenli clan heaved a sigh of relief. They felt lucky that they were able to remain alive. Wang Teng looked at the martial warriors. Although he had arrived at the decision with the other two chief commanders, he still found it a pity. These were all attribute bubbles. It would be a waste to let them go. Unfortunately, the decision was made. He couldn't say anything. The future of these martial warriors from the Zhenli clan wouldn't be good anyway. Did they think that surrendering was the end? More torture was waiting for them. Well, at least he knew they would be sent to suppress the dark apparitions, tie them up. Zhu Xuanwu scanned the crowd and gave his order. The martial warriors from the three troops tied up the captives. These rune handcuffs were able to seal the force inside a martial warrior's body. The stronger the martial warrior, the more powerful the rune handcuff used. General stage martial warriors would be given rune handcuffs specially made for them. No one could escape easily. Hence, once the person was cuffed, they were the same as a normal guy. The martial warriors from the Zhenli clan were extremely obedient. They cooperated well. No one dared to resist. Wang Teng stopped looking at them. Their subordinates would take care of this matter. It had nothing to do with him. He finally had the time to pick up the attribute bubbles scattered around the battlefield. Many martial warriors from the Zhenli clan were killed, including close to 10 general stage martial warriors. Thus, there were lots of attribute bubbles dropped by them. Some of the military martial warriors were also sacrificed, so this added more attribute bubbles to the battlefield. Wang Teng stopped hesitating. He released his spiritual power, and the attribute bubbles flew toward him. Metal Force *120 Wood Force *310 Fire Force *250 Spiritual Realm Enlightenment *35 Earth Force *330 Spiritual Realm Spirit *20 Spiritual Realm Enlightenment *40 If all these attribute bubbles were beauties, Wang Teng would be swimming in a sea of them. He would be enjoying himself thoroughly. Other people couldn't experience his happiness. His metal force rose because he had received a large number of metal force attributes from the Pope. Now, the other forces increased greatly too. It wasn't just the metal force this time. His other 4 basic elements were also affected. The accumulation of all the attribute bubbles allowed his basic element forces to increase by more than 10,000 points. It meant that at this moment, the forces of his basic 5 elements had reached the 12-star general stage. Visit Ria.me for extra chapters. This speed was astonishing. If other people knew how much his ability had risen, they might be thunderstruck. Metal Force, 1380 35,000, 12-star, Wood Force, 2550 35,000, 12-star, Water Force, 1860 35,000, 12-star, Fire Force, 1335,000, 12-star, Earth Force, 35,000, 12-star, a rise in the realm would cause a huge disturbance. However, Wang Ting suppressed it forcefully. A vast amount of force swarmed around his body. Soon, it landed in the force nucleus, and his body regained its calmness. The entire process ended almost instantly. Ordinary martial warriors might not notice anything, but Zhu Xuanwu was at the peak of the general stage, and he was close to Wang Ting. Naturally, he felt something. He stared at Wang Ting in surprise and asked, "Did you just achieve a breakthrough?" "A small one." Wang Ting used his thumb and index finger to show how small it was. Zhu Xuanwu was speechless. If he was right, that violent fluctuation would only occur when someone rose in level. Although it was suppressed, he had been through it before, so he knew. At the general stage, any breakthrough was difficult. Even more, this was a rise in the realm. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 723: A Small Breakthrough. And Punishment. 2. Yet, Wang Ting called it a small breakthrough. To hell with a small breakthrough. Zhu Xuanwu complained in his heart. He left Wang Ting alone and went to settle other things. He didn't want to speak to this fellow anymore. What an actor. Breakthrough. Xiao Nanfeng was shocked too. He stared at Wang Ting in astonishment. He could do it in this situation? He found it unbelievable. It was like achieving a breakthrough when you were eating or drinking. It felt so easy. That was right. To Xiao Nanfeng, Wang Ting's breakthrough came too easily. He rose in rank without experiencing any obstacles. No wonder this fellow's power rose so quickly. Was this the advancement speed of all geniuses? Xiao Nanfeng felt bitter and helpless. This was a huge blow for him even though he had made a name for himself for many years. He felt that the younger generation was really surpassing them. He walked away, keeping his distance from Wang Ting and from anything that could stimulate him. Wang Ting glanced at them and shook his head. He said that to take care of the dignity of normal people like them. Yet, they didn't accept it. How insensible. He continued looking at his attributes panel. The basic 5 elements rose tremendously, but there was no change in his mutated forces. There were no lightning force, poison force, ice force, or wind force attributes. The Zhonli clan had numerous martial warriors, but none of them possessed these 4 special forces. We could tell that the foundation of the martial warriors from the Zhonli clan was actually quite weak. Most of their talents were ordinary too. Wang Ting didn't pick up any ultimate stage talents from them. As for spirit and enlightenment, the highest was the spiritual realm. It wasn't of much help to Wang Ting since his was at the imperial realm. Fortunately, they won in numbers, so his spirit and enlightenment did increase a little from the accumulation. Besides that, he also picked up some scriptures and battle techniques. However, they were all average. Wang Ting only wanted the sky-rank ones now. A person's field of vision would keep expanding. Wang Ting had ample sky-rank battle techniques and scriptures, so he wouldn't bother with anything below that. Of course, looking at it from another point of view, battle techniques and scriptures below sky rank were useless to him. Thus, there was no need to learn them. Hence, these scriptures and battle techniques became part of his knowledge. He had many battle techniques and scriptures stored in his mind. Wang Ting shook his head and smiled. He stopped looking at the attributes panel. It looked like the greatest gain this time was the rise in his basic 5 forces and the tremor talent he received from the Pope. The others weren't satisfactory. However, Wang Ting was content. Well, his 5 basic forces had reached the 12-star general stage. Why shouldn't he be happy? Wang Ting didn't think that he would be able to advance at once. This result was already a surprise for him. He finally kept his thoughts and remembered someone's Zhuatian Laihua. He glanced around him but couldn't find her. Hence, he used the origin of soul to sense her location. The next instant, his expression turned strange. Zhuatian Laihua was a little far from his current position. That meant that this lady ran away? It was obvious that Zhuotian Laihua sneaked off when they were fighting with the Zhenli clan. Wang Ting wasn't angry. He was the one who forced her to pass him her origin of soul. Honestly, he was the bad person. Also, Zhuotian Laihua didn't do anything to him. She was only disgusted by him when he took over Yaroji's appearance. They had no grudges. Hence, Wang Ting wasn't angry when she ran away. However, he found it strange. Why was she certain that he wouldn't kill her? Mind you, when she passed him her origin of soul, it meant that he had control of her life. If Wang Ting got angry, he could destroy Zhuotian Lihua's origin of soul with a single thought, and she would die instantly. Wang Ting pondered. He felt that he should do something. He wouldn't kill Zhuotian Laihua, but he would give her a small punishment. After all, she left secretly without his consent. A disobedient slave should be punished, right? Wang Ting separated a small flame from the emerald-glazed flame and moved it below Zhuotian Lihua's origin of soul. The distance between them was just right. It wouldn't hurt her origin of soul, but it could let her experience the pain and agony of the scorching heat. About 10 kilometers from the base of the Zhenli clan, near the edge of the mountain range. Visit Ria Del. Me for extra chapters. Happiness flashed in Zhuotian Lihua's eyes when she noticed that she had almost escaped. She turned and saw no one chasing her. She felt relieved. However, at this moment, she suddenly shuddered and felt a scorching heat coming from the depth of her soul. She opened her mouth and let out a scream of pain. She couldn't control the force in her body and dropped to the ground, rolling around. The scorching pain wasn't felt on her body. She felt it in her soul. That was why it was so agonizing. Zhuotian Laihua curled up and hissed in pain. The torment lasted for 10 minutes before it died down slowly. However, she continued to lie on the ground, her body twitching occasionally. Wang Ting. A hoarse voice squeezed out from her throat. She knew where this pain came from. She gave her origin of soul to someone, so she couldn't decide her own death. Zhuotian Laihua felt helpless and bitter, yet she couldn't do anything. After finding out Wang Ting's identity, she didn't know if he would let her go. She took the risk and escaped. It looked like the other party didn't plan to let her go so easily. Was the pain a warning or a punishment? Or was it both? Zhuotian Laihua thought to herself silently. After some time, she got up slowly and looked in the direction of the Zhenli clan. A moment of hesitation later, she gritted her teeth and went the opposite way. She must bring this piece of news back to Country Neon no matter what it took. If Wang Ting wanted to kill her, she would accept it. Zhuotian Laihua was making a bet. She knew that there were no grudges between them, so Wang Ting wouldn't kill her so easily. She flew for half an hour before the scorching pain disappeared. She didn't die. As expected. Zhuotian Laihua thought to herself. She felt a little relieved and started flying even faster. Wang Ting didn't know what Zhuotian Laihua was thinking. After giving her a small punishment, he let her go. At this moment, he was walking into the base of the Zhenli clan with Zhu Xuanwu and some others. It was time to count their gains. The extermination of the Zhenli clan went smoothly. All the higher authorities of the Zhenli clan were either dead or injured. None of them had escaped. Hence, they didn't have the chance to move their resources or treasures. All their valuable items were still in the base. Wang Ting walked beside Zhu Xuanwu and Xiao Nanfeng quietly. There was a strange glow in his eyes. Actually, his clones had already taken the most valuable items from the base. When they were fighting with the Zhenli clan, the base was in a mess. No one guarded the treasures in the headquarters, so this gave Wang Ting the chance to steal them. Before leaving the base with Zhuotian Laihua, he secretly hid a clone inside. While fighting outside, his clone became a porter, moving the treasures out of the base secretly. No one would think that he was the one who did it. Of course, he did leave some stuff behind for Zhu Xuanwu and the others. They had worked hard in his battle, so Wang Ting felt bad if he took everything. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 724 Our chief commander is a nanny. 1. In the base of the Zhenli clan. The third mountain was where the laboratories and the treasures of the Zhenli clan were at. Wang Teng, Zhu Xuanwu, and the others were standing in a treasure room. The martial warriors from the three troops were counting the items inside, including ores, spiritual herbs, rune weapons, and many others. Zhu Xuanwu walked around the room and frowned. Why do I feel that this treasure room is a little empty? Is the Zhenli clan so poor? Wang Ting stared at the ground, pretending that he didn't know anything. It's indeed too little. It seems as if someone emptied the place before us. Xiao Nanfeng frowned. He was puzzled. Yes, I agree. The Zhenli clan is really poor, Wang Ting agreed pretentiously. The other two chief commanders didn't suspect anything. Wang Ting had never left the battlefield, so he didn't have the time to commit the crime. They didn't think that he was the culprit. The martial warriors finished counting quickly and placed the items in their space equipment. Space equipment was rare, but there were 3 troops here. They could gather a few of them. They weren't like Wang Ting, who stole a pile of them from the dark apparitions. That was right, a pile of them. Moreover, these pieces of space equipment weren't very useful for him. He had the space fragment, which had enough space to store many things. Of course, this was Wang Teng's secret. Only Dan Taixian had seen him using the space fragment to keep his Queen Phoenix battlecraft. However, even she thought that he just had a piece of space equipment with huge space inside. She didn't think that he had a space fragment. No one would go in that direction. The martial warriors from the different troops were reporting their tally of the items to Wang Teng, Zhu Xuanwu, and Xiao Nanfeng. These were spoils of war. All 3 troops took part in this mission, so these items would be distributed among them. Counting them was necessary to prevent any dirty tricks in the future. Wang Teng waved his hand and said to Song Wanjiang, "Old Song, you can handle this matter. You don't have to count for me." Song Wanjiang was stunned for a moment. Then, he gave a bitter smile. The other chief commanders yearned to get these resources to strengthen their power and authority in the military. These treasures could be used to help them win the support of other people. Every team needed a large number of resources to strengthen themselves. These resources needed to be approved and acknowledged by the chief commander. Hence, in everyone's heart, the chief commander was someone irreplaceable. As part of the system, having ability wasn't enough. You needed to give benefits at times. But Wang Ting was too lazy to care about all these. This wasn't his ambition. His aim was the formidable path. People without enough ability would give benefits to other people to secure their reputation, but Wang Ting was definitely the most powerful soldier in his troop. Anyone would respect and fear him. He didn't need to play the system. Song Wanjiang understood this logic. Just like what their chief commander said, he wouldn't stay in this position for long. That was why he didn't care. Thinking about this, Song Wanjiang felt elated and dejected at the same time. Look at him, his horizons had already passed the position of the chief commander. On the other hand, they were still trying their best to become one. In comparison, they seemed narrow-minded. Visit Ria Me for extra chapters. Fortunately, Song Wanjiang understood himself well. He knew that he couldn't be compared with Wang Ting, so he threw these thoughts out of his mind after a few seconds. He acknowledged Wang Ting's order with respect and went to count alone. He didn't dare to bother Wang Ting again. Zhu Xuanwu and Xiao Nanfeng gave forced smiles. They couldn't be as indifferent as Wang Ting. These treasures were extremely important to them. They wouldn't give them up easily. They didn't know that Wang Ting had already taken his pick. These were just the leftovers. It was no wonder he could act so casual about them. After some time, a martial warrior ran over and reported, "Chief Commander, we found the laboratories of the Zhenli clan." Oh! Zhu Xuanwu and Xiao Nanfeng's eyes lit up. They said hurriedly, "Lead the way." The martial warrior brought them to the laboratories. Wang Teng remained calm. However, he had to pretend that he didn't know anything. He wore an interested expression on his face as he followed behind them. After some time, they arrived at the laboratories. The 3 troops had their own laboratories too. After all, in this era, Every faction would use the most advanced methods to find new ways to advance on the martial arts path. Star beast experiments and human experiments were common among all the factions. But some factions were more humane and used criminals with the death penalty for their experiments. A few of them even asked for the other party's consent first. Alright, that was enough explanation for now. All in all, lab data was extremely important. Wang Teng didn't take the lab data. He just copied some documents he deemed important. It wasn't hard for him to differentiate the important ones. After all, his medical knowledge had reached the small achievement stage. Wang Ting also took the black sand magnetic lizard that possessed the magnetic physique. He kept it in his space fragment. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 725 Our Chief Commander is a nanny. 2. The black sand magnetic lizard acted fiercely when he took it. It didn't cooperate with him. It was now enjoying the education from Little White and the metal armor flaming scorpion in his space fragment, so it would become obedient very soon. Neither beast nor human would accept reality obediently without a little bit of education. He kept it because he wanted to get more magnetic physique attribute bubbles from it. If not, he wouldn't have even bothered to glance at it. Zhu Xuanwu and Xiao Nanfeng were satisfied with their loot from the laboratories. Even the scientists were valuable assets. What a waste. Why did these scientists join the Zhenli clan? Zhu Xuanwu said angrily. It's all right. They belong to the country now. We can order them around like free labor, Wang Teng said. Cough, you don't have to be so direct. It's called penitence, not cheap labor. Zhu Xuanwu coughed awkwardly. Wang Teng rolled his eyes. Do you believe yourself? Zhu Xuanwu pretended not to see Wang Teng's reaction. I didn't know that the Zhenli clan kept so much useful lab data. How did they do it? Most of the lab data were related to the conversion of force into constellation force. Country Xia had only taken a small step forward in their research, but the Zhenli clan was no slower than them. It was understandable that they were astounded. Wang Ting was also shocked. He forgot that a majority of the lab data came from the alien spacecraft. The Pope brought the items out from the spacecraft to let his scientists study. Would Zhu Xuanwu follow this clue and find out about the alien spacecraft? If he did that, he might lose ownership of the alien spacecraft. No, he wouldn't admit it. They had no evidence, so they couldn't do anything to him. Wang Ting knew that the Pope kept the spacecraft a secret, so not many people would know about it. Most of the higher authorities from the Zhenli clan were dead. This secret would be buried with them. Wang Teng had already moved the spacecraft into his space fragment. He got rid of all pieces of evidence perfectly. Who knows? Don't underestimate the strength of their scientific research. There's only a fine line between a genius and a maniac. Wang Teng spouted nonsense. Zhu Xuanwu and Xiao Nanfeng were deep in thought. They felt that Wang Ting made sense and nodded in agreement. There were no other places worth noticing at the base of the Zhenli clan. The space used to store the spacecraft was discovered, but it was already empty. The others would never guess that an alien spacecraft used to be here. They thought that this space was created by the Zhenli clan recently for some important purpose. After taking a look around, Zhu Xuanwu shook his head and said, "It looks like these are the only important things. Let's leave." Wang Teng and Xiao Nanfeng had no objections. They left the mountains and went back to their own battlecraft. Chief Commander, Song Wanjiang and the others came out to greet him. Wang Teng glanced around and saw many martial warriors getting treated. He asked, "How are the casualties?" "We lost 136 men in total. 112 of them were 7-star soldier level and below, while the other 24 were above it. None of our general stage martial warriors died in this battle," Song Wanjiang said solemnly. Wang Teng nodded. They came with more than 1,300 soldiers, but 136 of them had lost their lives. This was a 10% death rate. Most were low-rank martial warriors, but it wasn't easy for the military to groom them. Every martial warrior had been through countless battles. Every single death was a huge loss. Visit Del. Me for extra chapters. However, Wang Teng also knew that deaths were inevitable in war. The Zhonli clan wasn't a small organization. They couldn't bring them down without making some sacrifices. Actually, this result was already satisfactory. It was within his estimation. This was the advantage of Wang Teng's participation. Zhu Xuanwu and he had chased after the Pope and killed him. After that, they returned quickly and suppressed the rest of the martial warriors from the Zhonli clan. The fire array he suggested played an important role too. It was able to curb the ice array and give additional help in fighting with the enemy general stage martial warriors, taking away a lot of pressure on the martial warriors from the three troops. This was why their casualties were so few. Compared to their previous battles, this mission went exceptionally smooth. Around 200 martial warriors are heavily injured. The others have small wounds, nothing serious, Song Wanjiang continued. Where are the serious ones? Bring me there, Wang Teng said. Yes. Song Wanjiang replied hurriedly. Under his lead, Wang Teng came to the treatment room in the battlecraft. This battlecraft was designed specially for war. All the necessary facilities were present. Treatment for martial warriors was one of the most important things. Hence, having a treatment room was essential. Chief Commander. Chief Commander. Wang Teng caught the attention of the injured martial warriors when he entered the clean and tidy white treatment room. The martial warriors got up to greet him. Some that were unable to get up struggled to stand up straight. To them, their chief commander was already showing them much concern and viewing them with high importance when he came to visit them personally. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 726. Our chief commander is a nanny. 3. For an instant, everyone felt emotional. It's all right. Be at ease. I'm not strict with rules. Wang Teng waved his hands and said. Thank you, Chief Commander, they all replied in unison. Please move aside. I'll treat everyone. Wang Teng glanced around him. Huh. The medical staff were shocked. They were hesitant. Some of the martial warriors' injuries were extremely serious. They couldn't waste any time. They wondered what Wang Teng wanted to do. Treat. Was their chief commander a doctor? Was he kidding? If this person wasn't their chief commander, the medical staff might have chased him away. Chief Commander, Song Wanjiang was hesitant too. The chief commander was still a young man. He might be powerful, but he was a little unreliable at times. He hoped he wasn't treating lives as a joke. Come on. Wang Teng was speechless. Am I so unreliable? Of course not. But their injuries are quite serious. Do you think? Song Wanjiang had to console him. Move. I'll not take other people's lives as a joke. One last time, please move aside quickly. Don't make me angry, Wang Teng replied furiously. Song Wanjiang was helpless. He had no choice but to listen to Wang Teng. He hoped that Wang Teng did have a way and wasn't joking. The medical staff moved to the side and stared at Wang Teng curiously. They wanted to see what method he would use to treat the patients. Wang Teng didn't waste any time. He released his light force and waved his hand. The bestow of the goddess rained down. Instantly, a light rain fell in the treatment room. The light droplets scattered over the patients' bodies and seeped into their skin. Soon, they started to take effect. Wang Teng's bestow of the goddess was dense with a lot of light force instilled in it. Everyone moaned as they enjoyed the amazing feeling. Song Wanjiang and the medical staff were stunned. What was going on? What just happened? Why was everyone giving that expression? Weren't they half dead a moment ago? This change was too abrupt. It didn't make sense. Medical technology was advanced in this era. Normal injuries could heal completely with the help of some medical treatments and Dan medicine. Serious injuries were a little more difficult to cure. High-ranking Dan medicine was rare and expensive. The military couldn't give it to everyone in the troop. However, Wang Teng was able to heal them with a wave of his hand. Light rain scattered down and affected everyone who touched it. This wasn't a one-person effect either. It impacted everyone. The effects were amazing. It was almost unbelievable. Visit Me for extra chapters. Okay. After some time, Wang Ting stopped his bestow of the goddess and said to the dumbfounded medical staff, "I'm done. You can take it over from here." Before they could react, he walked out of the treatment room. The injured martial warriors were still immersed in the comfortable feeling. They didn't know that Wang Ting had left. If they did, they would have crawled up to thank him. The medical staff regained their senses and quickly inspected the injuries of the martial warriors. The effect seemed impressive, but as professionals, they believed in data. After a round of inspection, the data appeared better than before. They realized that the serious injuries before were in a better state now. Not only did the pain lessen, but it also made their subsequent procedures easier. The recovery period was also shortened. Some injuries that might have long-lasting repercussions became less grave. As long as they received proper treatment in the future, there wouldn't be any sequelae. The medical staff was astounded. Discussions were heard in the treatment room. "This is amazing. Unbelievable. What was that light rain just now? Our chief commander is incredible. He's like a nanny watching over this troop." "A nanny?" "Indeed, our chief commander is a nanny. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible." Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 727 The Alien Awakens. 1. Wang Ting didn't know that he was being called a nanny. But soon, he found out. Song Wanjiang chased after him. He waited in the treatment room for the result and only came running after Wang Ting when he knew that everyone's injuries had gotten better. "Nanny Chief Commander, we still have many other injured martial warriors. Why don't you help them too? Everyone can recover faster and contribute to the troop more." Song Wanjiang dashed over and said. "What did you call me just now?" Wang Ting's gaze turned dangerous. He glared at Song Wanjiang if he heard it right. This fellow had called him nanny. To hell with a nanny. Why don't you be the nanny? Wang Ting was infuriated and felt humiliated. He might be treating his troop well, but he wasn't a nanny. Chief Commander, you must have heard wrong." Song Wanjiang felt cold sweat on his forehead. His head went numb, and he almost shivered in fear. "Say it one more time and I'll let you know the consequences," Wang Ting said fiercely. He must stop this trend before it started. If not, his reputation would be destroyed. Yes. Song Wanjiang replied readily. "All right, gather everyone on the deck." Wang Ting snorted. "I'll do it immediately." Song Wanjiang was elated. He went to carry out the order while almost skipping. Very soon, the deck was filled with martial warriors from the Black Sparrow troop. They were confused. They gathered in their little groups and discussed in low voices. "Why did they gather us here? I don't know. I hope it ends soon. I need to go back to recuperate. Since they have gathered everyone, there must be something important." While everyone was talking, the martial warriors from the Crimson Tiger Troop and the Xuanwu Troop, who were on their own battlecraft, looked over curiously. Their attention was attracted. Very soon, Wang Ting arrived with Song Wanjiang and the other deputy commanders. "Quiet." Song Wanjiang opened his mouth and said, "We've gathered everyone here because we want to let Chief Commander treat all of you." "Treat us?" Everyone glanced at one another in bewilderment. Their expressions were the same as the heavily injured patients from before. The Chief Commander was going to treat them? They found it absurd. Wang Ting saw their reaction, but he was too lazy to explain himself, directly executing his bestow of the goddess instead. The light rain fell and rained on everyone. Sigh. The doubtful martial warriors trembled and made an indescribable sigh uncontrollably. It wasn't just one or two martial warriors. All of them made the same sound. It was so loud that the other two battlecrafts also heard them. They were puzzled. What just happened? Why were the martial warriors from the Black Sparrow troop moaning suddenly? Although they had noticed the light rain, no one knew what it was. Light force was extremely rare. Only Alays possessed it, so it was normal that no one had seen it before. Visit Ria Me for extra chapters. By the time the martial warriors on the deck regained their senses, Wang Teng had left. They finally understood that the chief commander was indeed treating them. Moreover, the effects were amazing. "Hez our nanny," someone suddenly said. These martial warriors were all young fellows. They played games normally, so they understood the other meaning of this word. Nanny. Indeed, "Hez a nanny. Our Black Sparrow troop has our own nanny now." Everyone found this nickname appropriate and acknowledged it. It started spreading throughout the troop at the speed of light. Wang Ting didn't know anything. He had returned to his own room. He wanted to sit down and count his gains properly. His clone had brought back plenty of good stuff, including the alien spacecraft. He didn't have the time to investigate it properly in the past. Now, it belonged to him, so he could do anything with it. The instant he sat down, Zhu Xuanwu and Xiao Nanfeng came to find him. They had heard of his nanny deeds. Normally, the three troops guarded their own territory, so they wouldn't know much about the Black Sparrow troop. Even if there were news, it would take a long time to reach them. However, they were parked side by side. News spread within a second. And it was not like Wang Ting planned to hide it. Zhu Xuanwu and Xiao Nanfeng were anxious. There were many injured patients in their troops. If they weren't treated in time, there might be long-term side effects, hindering their cultivation in the future. "Wang Ting, quick! Follow me." Zhu Xuanwu pulled him out the instant he saw him. "Wait, what are we doing? Can you explain first?" Wang Teng was surprised. This was the first time he saw an impatient Zhu Xuanwu. He was puzzled. "What explanation? We know about your nanny deeds. Quick, we need to save people," Zhu Xuanwu said. Wang Ting didn't hear much, but he heard the word nanny. His face turned as black as the bottom of a pot. He pushed Zhu Xuanwu away and replied in anger, "Who are you calling a nanny? If anyone dares to say it again, I'll teach him a lesson. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible." Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 728 The Alien Awakens, 2. Zhu Xuanwu felt awkward and said in embarrassment, That's a misunderstanding. Let's not talk about it anymore. Quick, saving lives is more important. We mustn't waste any time." Xiao Nanfeng chuckled to himself. He knew how narrow-minded Wang Ting was. If he laid his eyes on you, you would be in trouble. He felt fortunate that he didn't speak. If not, he might be the one saying nanny. Wang Ting took a deep breath. He must be really unlucky to be given this nickname out of the blue. Besides, it was such a speechless nickname. Who did he provoke? Let's go. He walked out with a grim expression. He wouldn't joke about saving lives. Okay. Zhu Xuanwu followed him carefully. At the moment, a 13-star high-tier general stage martial warrior seemed like a sidekick. He smiled and didn't dare to offend Wang Teng again. The following matters were simple. Wang Teng executed the bestow of the goddess 2 times with a wave of his hand and treated the seriously injured patients from the 2 troops. Then, he left with a black face. This nickname would stick with him after this matter ended. He was certain of it. Wang Teng arrived at his room and sighed. There were too many mishaps in his life. He was so unlucky. He did a good deed, yet he still ended up with a weird nickname. He shook his head and stopped thinking about it. Gradually, his consciousness entered the space fragment in his mind. There was a circular spacecraft placed in the middle, taking up a large section of the space fragment. The spacecraft was entirely black. It gave off an eerie and deep feeling. No gaps could be found on its surface. Wang Teng remembered the scene he saw inside the spacecraft. There were no cracks inside either. It was amazing. He wondered what technology was used to build this spacecraft. Wang Teng wanted to enter the spacecraft, but he realized that he was in a spiritual form. Even if he went inside, he couldn't touch anything. How was he supposed to investigate the spacecraft? Outside, Wang Tung frowned. He contemplated and said, by right, if I can keep things inside, I should be able to enter too. He decided to give it a try once he thought of it. But before this, I should leave a clone outside just to be safe. Wang Tung started putting his thoughts into motion. He merged his force and spirit and formed a special mist. The mist in front of him started changing shape. Another Wang Teng appeared gradually. I'll leave you outside, Wang Tung said. The clone sat down cross-legged on the bed and nodded with a smile. No problem. Go ahead. Wang Tung nodded. He activated his mind and employed the method he used to store the other items on himself. In an instant, his figure disappeared. The clone's eyes flickered and he muttered to himself, his body disappeared, and I can't sense the presence of the space fragment. This is a paradox. The space fragment is inside his body, but he can enter the space fragment. Interesting, forget it. I can't make sense of it. Let the real Wang Tung think about it. The clone shook his head and gloated. He slowly closed his eyes and started meditating like an old monk, disregarding everything that was happening outside. Wang Tung also knew the situation outside through his clone. It was just like he imagined. But when he knew what his clone was thinking, he wanted to laugh. You are my clone. Shouldn't you help me? Why are you gloating when you see me facing a hard question? Wang Ting shook his head and walked into the spacecraft. It felt different this time. His mentality had changed. Last time, he had sneaked in unlike his swaggering style now. He wasn't worried about anyone finding him. Wang Ting passed through the hall and entered the room where the alien was. These aliens were kept in sleeping cabins. They weren't dead, but their vitality was weak. However, they couldn't escape his eyes of essence. He didn't look at them carefully in the past because the situation didn't allow him to. Wang Teng came to the room directly and opened the door. He walked in. The aliens were still hibernating. There was no movement. Wang Teng walked to the sleeping cabins and frowned in deep thought. He hadn't thought of what to do with these aliens. Through the transparent sleeping cabins, he could see that the aliens inside were locked up. They were tied to the bottom of the sleeping cabins and couldn't move. With his level of rune mastery, Wang Ting noticed the runes on the locks. They were especially used to seal one's force. They were different from the other binding runes he saw in the past, but they were profound. This was why he felt at ease. Who knew if these aliens woke up suddenly and ran out? Wang Ting had no idea who they were. They might cause trouble if they ran wild. He complete a couple of rounds and confirmed that there was nothing strange. He decided to look at other areas to understand the operations of this spacecraft. He might be able to get some information about these aliens. But just as Wang Ting was about to walk out of the room, his expression changed. He turned around abruptly with a vigilant expression. Just now, a strange voice had suddenly rang in his mind. Young man. The voice was strange, but he was speaking in country Shia's language. Thus, he understood. Visit Ria Del. Me for extra chapters. Wang Teng's body tensed up. He was the only person from country Shia here. The others were hibernating aliens. This was his space fragment. There were no other living creatures here. So, were these aliens talking to him just now? Wang Teng turned serious. He glanced at the sleeping cabin. It would be troublesome if they woke up. But when he scanned the cabins, none of them had opened their eyes. They were in the same posture. Wang Teng's gaze turned sharp. He activated his eyes of essence to see which one was awake. Very soon, he found his target. One of them was indeed awake. After receiving the eyes of essence, Wang Teng experimented with it many times, including using it to observe the difference between a person's soul and body when he was awake and sleeping. Normally, when a person was asleep, the cells in their body and their souls would be sleeping too. If they were awake, they would be more active. There was a huge difference. You couldn't tell the difference from the outside. However, if you observed it at the microscopic level, it was easy to observe. Wang Teng sneered. Despite being awake, he was using this method to communicate with him. It looked like his condition was bad. That was why he put on this show in an attempt to fool him. However, He was always the one to fool others. What a joke. Does he think he can fool me? He should be glad that I didn't fool him. Wang Ting decided to beat him at his own game. He pretended to panic and said, "Who's speaking? Come out." The Oscar winner was in action. "Don't be nervous, young man," the voice resounded again. "Who are you? Come out. If you don't, I'll leave." Wang Ting pretended to be scared. He seemed ready to escape at any moment. The alien felt speechless. Why was he so afraid of death? Look at how timid he was. "I'm in front of you. I have no evil intention." The alien had no choice but to be direct. He was afraid that the young man would really run away if he frightened him. "In front of me?" Wang Ting glanced at the sleeping cabin ahead and exclaimed in astonishment, "Are you the alien?" "To be more exact, we are Plato beings," the voice replied. "Plato beings?" Wang Ting muttered. He stammered and asked, "What do you want to do?" "Don't worry. Plato beings are a peaceful race. I won't do anything to you. I just want to have a chat with you. I hope that we can cooperate just like how we worked together with the human before you," the voice continued. "If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 729 Young man, is there anything you want? Cooperate? Wang Ting was stunned. This wasn't what he expected. This alien who called himself a Plato being wanted to cooperate with him? No, he must be lying. Those who are not our kin are sure to be of a different heart. This Plato being must have other intentions. Wang Ting wasn't stupid. He immediately guessed that the other party had ulterior motives. However, he didn't think that the Pope had agreed to work together with these aliens. Where did he get the confidence to do that? Wasn't he afraid of getting fooled by them? Wang Ting finally understood why the Zhenli clan managed to make so much progress in their research. It must have something to do with this collaboration. Wang Ting snorted in his heart, but he didn't display it on his face. He hesitated for a moment and asked, "Cooperate? How?" "Very simple. Let's make an exchange. Tell me what you want and I'll ask a favor from you that's of equal value," the awakened Plato being said. "I see. This sounds fair," Wang Ting touched his chin and said in contemplation. The Plato being was elated. This young man was easier to fool than the other human. He hadn't even started his speech, yet this fellow was already duped. "Oh right, what's your name?" Wang Ting suddenly asked. "My name is Shodidi." "Plato," the Plato being replied after a moment of silence. "Shodidi?" Wang Ting was stunned. What kind of stupid name is that? Was this fellow serious? Wang Ting felt that this name was too casual. Also, this Plato being used the planet's name as his surname. He suspected that the other party was lying. "I'm not lying. Our names are all like this. Everyone uses our planet's name as our surname." Shodidi knew what Wang Ting was thinking, so he hurriedly explained himself. "All right, stupid little brother." Wang Ting nodded. "It's Shodidi," the Plato being emphasized. "Why are you familiar with our language?" Wang Ting asked. "We have an advanced translation technology. I've already grasped all the languages on this planet, including country Shia's language," Shodidi said proudly. To show off, he spoke some of the more common languages on this planet. He didn't care if Wang Ting understood him or not. Wang Ting didn't care either. It was easy for him to learn a language. He just needed to pick up some language attribute bubbles. This stupid little brother was seriously an idiot. Why was he boasting in front of him? Wang Ting rolled his eyes in contempt secretly. Wow, amazing. However, he still pretended to be amazed. "So, do you want this language translation technology?" Shodidi asked in delight. "No." Wang Ting refused. Shodidi was stunned. He seemed impressed. Why did he reject him so quickly and decisively? It was as if he was faking it. "What do you want?" Shodidi sighed and asked. "What do you have that's worth exchanging?" Wang Ting replied to him with a question of his own. I have a high-tech device that can allow you to teleport. What do you think? Didi pondered for a moment before saying, teleport. Wang Teng was surprised. After all, Earth's technology hadn't advanced to that level yet. Indeed, the Plato civilization was outstanding. They could travel through the universe and come to Earth. What do you think? With this teleportation device, you will have an advantage during a battle. You can catch your opponent off guard and defeat them. Any enemy will become useless in front of you. You will reach the peak of your life and become the cream of the crop on Earth. You will be admired and praised by everyone. Think about the good life you will have. Didi started brainwashing Wang Teng. He was like a salesman trying to induce Wang Ting to buy his products. Actually, the teleportation device wasn't as amazing. First, you needed to charge it with a special energy. Every single usage required a large amount of such energy, so ordinary people couldn't afford to use it. Didi was digging a hole for Wang Ting to jump. Once Wang Ting used the teleportation device and got a taste of its power, he would seek more and more energy to charge this device. At that time, Wang Ting would have to come and find him again. Visit Ria.me for extra chapters. The teleportation device wasn't convenient either. It needed a long time to charge, so you needed to prepare before you used it. The most lethal disadvantage was its short distance of teleportation. Also, the location you got teleported was random. If your enemy caught you or discovered your destination, all the efforts would be in vain. Of course, you could use this device to save yourself at crucial times. Also, if you used it properly, you could surprise your opponents during a battle. This was why Didi used it to trick Wang Teng. He had to make sure that this device could continue attracting Wang Ting in the future. Unfortunately, this was a useless object to Wang Teng. It held no attraction to him at all. He was a genius who possessed space talent. He could travel through space without using any teleportation device, and the effects were much better. It wouldn't require additional energy and was convenient and environment-friendly. If Didi knew, his jaws might drop. A space talent was rare even in the universe. Yet, a human on Earth possessed it. How was it possible? How far can you teleport? Wang Ting had decided to reject him. He twirled his pupils and asked a sharp question. Probably within 10 kilometers, Didi hesitated before replying to him. He smiled and tried to entice Wang Teng again. Don't look down on this distance. If you use it properly, it can have unexpected results. Fine, I don't want it. What can you do with 10 kilometers? Wang Teng rejected instantly. Didi. He was rejected again. Rejected without any mercy. Didi felt exasperated. This wasn't what he had expected. Why didn't this young man take his bait? How could this country bumpkin from Earth resist this temptation? Didi was cursing in his heart. He felt that all his efforts were futile. He was helpless. He made an important bet. Young man, I think you don't have a suitable weapon, right? Well, I have one forged by a grandmaster blacksmith using the star bone of a universe behemoth. With it, you will possess unparalleled battle power and be undefeatable among your peers. Do you want it? Didi asked. 1. It has the same pronunciation as stupid little brother in Chinese. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 730 Spiritual Duel. Universe Behemoth. Wang Teng was tempted. This time, the bait Didi threw out had attracted his attention. But he was a little puzzled. What's the difference between the universe behemoth and our star beasts? Wang Teng asked. Haha, don't compare the universe behemoth with an ordinary star beast. They're two different concepts. Didi scoffed. What's the difference? Wang Teng wasn't angered by his attitude. Instead, he got more curious. The universe behemoth is a powerful presence. Any creature that's given the title has the ability to destroy a planet. Do you think an ordinary star beast can be compared to it? A normal star beast is nothing in front of a universe behemoth. Wang Teng was astounded. Was the universe behemoth so impressive? A universe behemoth could destroy a planet. What kind of presence was that? Wang Teng suddenly felt fortunate. The Earth had never met a universe behemoth in the past. If not, it wouldn't be able to withstand a single breath from that beast. How scary. Suddenly, he felt excited. Since the universe behemoth was so powerful, the weapon made from its starbone must be an ultimate divine weapon, right? Wang Teng suddenly felt curious. Did this guy have this weapon? Was he honestly willing to take it out to exchange with him? Since the universe behemoth is so powerful, how are you able to get its starbone to forge a weapon? Don't lie to me. Why would I lie to you? We found this treasure after spending much time and effort. If you want it, I can exchange it with you. Of course, you need to give me something in return, Shodidi said confidently. What do you want? Wang Teng asked with shimmering eyes. It's not about what I want. It's about what you can give. The universe behemoth is precious and extremely rare. I can't give it to you easily. Let me think about it. Wang Teng pretended to be in deep thought. In his heart, he was sniggering. This stupid little brother must have some big ambitions. That was why he threw such a huge temptation out. Think about it slowly. I'm not in a hurry. Shodidi didn't urge him. Then a moment of silence ensued. This was a fight of patience. They waited to see who would speak up first. Wang Teng wasn't in a hurry either. He didn't believe that Shodidi would be able to take out a divine weapon. Even if he did have it, he wouldn't give it to him. If he took it out, he would definitely snatch it from him like a dog snatching meat. Wait. He wasn't a dog. All in all, Wang Teng felt that he was lying. Hence, Wang Teng decided to grasp the initiative. Oh right. Wang Teng suddenly shouted. Shodidi was elated. He thought that Wang Teng couldn't stand it anymore. Since you're already awake, why don't you open your eyes? You have no sincerity. Are you trying to trick me? Wang Teng took a few steps back and said with vigilance. Shodidi felt like cursing. You sure took your sweet time to notice this. He had been closing his eyes for almost half a day. If he wanted to do something, he would have done it already. He wouldn't need to wait. You're lying, right? Everything you said is fake. Universe behemoth, starbone, you're just lying. You're a bad person. Wang Teng shouted. Wait, Shodidi yelled back. I wasn't lying. I didn't open my eyes because I just woke up and my eyes haven't gotten used to this environment. I didn't think that you would misunderstand. I'll open them now. Let's chat properly. Don't run away. I have no evil intention. He coaxed many times before Wang Teng stopped and looked at him curiously. Shodidi was afraid that he would run away again, so he quickly opened his eyes. However, he saw a pair of eyes with a strange crimson glint staring at him. Oh shit. Shodidi was shocked. He wanted to close his eyes immediately. It's too late. Wang Teng mocked. He instilled his spiritual power into Shodidi's eyes, filling them with crimson red light. Shodidi's gaze turned muddy. Wang Teng's spiritual power had invaded his consciousness. At this moment, he got a shock. When he was invading Shodidi's consciousness, he felt resistance. A powerful spiritual power was circling in Shodidi's consciousness. It involuntarily turned into a defensive wall, blocking Wang Teng's spiritual power. Get out. Shodidi's angry voice sounded in his consciousness. He has Imperial Realm spiritual soa. Wang Teng muttered to himself in surprise. He could sense that Shodidi's spiritual power had reached the same realm as him. This was the first time he met someone on his level. But he came from another planet, so it wasn't strange. Fortunately, Shodidi seemed to have just entered the Imperial Realm. Hence, there was still a huge difference between them. Stop struggling in vain. Wang Teng snorted. He instantly elevated his spiritual power. Wang Teng's spiritual power formed numerous thorns in his mind and flew toward the shield. Spirit penetration. Wang Teng used a spiritual attack on Shodidi. Damn it, It's a spiritual attack. Shodidi's voice was filled with anxiety. He shouted, "Spiritual shield, block it for me." A spiritual shield created from spiritual power appeared not far away from Wang Ting. Clang clang clang. In an instant, metallic sounds were heard in their mind. Wang Ting's spirit penetration collided with his opponent's spiritual shield. Without any sparks, they started destroying each other. Shodidi's spiritual shield managed to block Wang Ting's spiritual attack. Visit Riadel. Me for extra chapters. Spiritual defense. Wang Ting was elated. This was good stuff. It was a spiritual defense skill. He wanted it. Young man, you're a sly person. I almost fell for your trap. However, you won't be able to reach my consciousness. Shodidi's voice resounded in his mind. He sounded furious yet proud at the same time. Really? Wang Ting snorted. He was too naive if he thought that he could block his attack just like that. More. He added more blank attributes to his spirit penetration. Wang Ting had never used his spirit penetration ever since he received it. Hence, it was maintained at the foundation stage. His saved-up blank attributes came in handy now. He used them to raise his spirit penetration's level, increasing it from foundation to well-versed, small achievement, big achievement, and finally perfected stage. Spirit penetration, 3000, perfected. The level up cost him close to 5,000 blank attributes. Fortunately, Wang Ting had accumulated many blank attributes, so he had a choice. Try my attack again. Wang Ting smiled and released his spiritual power one more time. It gathered in front of him. Very soon, sharp and long spears appeared in Shodidi's consciousness. His attack went from thorns to spears. The difference was huge. Shodidi had a bad premonition when he heard Wang Ting's confident boast. Seeing the long spears, his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. How is this possible? Shodidi stuttered as if he had seen a ghost. He couldn't even perform this powerful spiritual attack. Yet, this earthling was able to do it. He couldn't believe his eyes. Go. Wang Ting was too lazy to waste any time. He moved his thoughts, and the spears shot towards the spiritual shield with a sharp glint. Shodidi was flabbergasted. He released the spiritual power in the depth of his mind to withstand Wang Ting's attack. Boom! The spears had slammed into his spiritual shield, giving birth to a loud explosion in his consciousness. Shodidi screamed in pain. Ah! Cracks started appearing on the spiritual shield. Shodidi no longer felt delighted or arrogant. He shouted in a hurry, "Stop! Stop this immediately!" Wang Ting sneered. He didn't show any signs of stopping. In fact, he added more spiritual power, and the spears increased in intensity. Bang! Ah! Spiritual shield collapsed and Shodidi screamed in agony again. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 731 Spiritual Contract and the Spacecraft Core. 1. As the spiritual shield shattered, Wang Ting finally saw the scenery in the depth of Shodidi's mind. There was a ball of smoke made from his spirit floating in his consciousness. It kept tossing, turning, and screaming in pain. This was Shodidi's spirit. However, his spirit was being mauled cruelly at this moment, so it was very weak. One couldn't tell that it was at the Imperial Realm. Unluckily, he met Wang Ting, who was also at the Imperial Realm. Also, Wang Ting didn't just reach the Imperial Realm. His spiritual power was almost at the intermediate level while Shodidi's seemed to be at the beginner stage. He had probably just set foot into the Imperial Realm. In addition, Wang Ting possessed the perfected stage spirit penetration. Shodidi had no chance of resisting. After he succeeded, his gaze landed on the area where the spiritual shield had cracked. A few attribute bubbles had dropped there. That was right. Attribute bubbles. Wang Ting was stunned. Attribute bubbles could appear in the consciousness. They were everywhere. Let me give a thumbs up to the system. Wang Ting didn't hesitate and picked up the attribute bubbles. Spiritual Shield * 25 Imperial Realm Spirit * 65 Spiritual Shield * 30 Imperial Realm Spirit * 115 Imperial Realm Spirit * 85 Spiritual Shield * 18 When these attribute bubbles merged into Wang Teng's body, he froze for a moment. He knew that there would be Spiritual Shield and Imperial Realm Spirit attribute bubbles, but he didn't expect such a large number. He received 73 points of Spiritual Shield attributes and 265 points of Imperial Realm Spirit. As the Spiritual Shield entered his body, the related cultivation method also appeared in his mind. The scenes of cultivation floated into his memory too. In these images, a Plato being who looked like Shodidi was cultivating. He controlled his spiritual power and tried many times to assemble it into a shield. At first, he could only form a shield the size of his palm. It was translucent and broke at a single touch. However, through his perseverance and effort, the shield got stronger and bigger. Toward the end, the shield reached the size of the one Shodidi formed when he was fighting with Wang Teng. This was obviously Shodidi's cultivation process. This knowledge and understanding had become part of Wang Teng's memory now and turned into his experience and enlightenment. Wang Teng only had 73 points of Spiritual Shield, so he wouldn't be able to reach Shodidi's level at once. Spiritual Shield, 63-100, well versed, however, Wang Teng was satisfied. He received another spirit skill, and it was the defense skill he lacked. This was a great gain. Also, he had added 265 points of Imperial Realm Spirit directly to his spirit attribute tally. He didn't need to divide them multiple times like in the past. If it had Spiritual Realm or Emperor Realm, only a fraction of the actual amount would be added to his attribute count. Spirit, 2027 3000, Imperial Realm. Wang Teng looked at his Imperial Realm Spirit on his attributes panel. It had exceeded the 2000 mark. He was overjoyed. Visit Ria Del. Me for extra chapters. This was a huge rise. Who on earth are you? Why? How can you possess such powerful spiritual power? Shodidi's furious voice burst out from the ball of spirit, attracting Wang Teng's attention. The voice was filled with disbelief. He didn't think that an earthling would possess a higher spiritual power than him. Me? I'm merely an earthling, just like what you think, Wang Teng said calmly. As they were speaking, his spiritual power swarmed towards the ball of spirit, closing in on Shodidi gradually. Damn it, don't come over. Shodidi's ball of spirit kept retreating. He was afraid of Wang Teng and didn't dare to get too close to him. Wang Teng didn't get impatient. He seemed calm and composed like a cat hunting a mouse. He felt that Shodidi wouldn't be able to escape. The rat was trapped in the hole. He kept his distance to prevent Shodidi from pouncing on him. After all, he didn't know what other methods this alien had up his sleeves. Don't you want to have an exchange with me? What are you afraid of? Wang Teng stepped closer and said with a smile. Shodidi felt like cursing. If he didn't understand that he was fooled, he would be an idiot. This earthling must have realized his intentions right at the start, but he still wasted time enticing him. How bored must he be to do such a useless thing? Shodidi almost went crazy. His eyes were filled with bitterness. He felt helpless and weak like a little child who got bullied. What do you want? Shodidi asked in anger. Give me everything you have and I might consider letting you go, Wang Teng said. What a huge appetite you have. Shodidi was astounded. The demands of this earthling exceeded his expectation. No wonder he didn't get fooled. What a sly fellow. This little creature didn't seem like an earthling. The other humans he met were ambitious, but there was a limit to it. They took the bait obediently after a few temptations. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 732 Spiritual Contract and the Spacecraft Core. 2. Last time, that human felt deeply grateful towards him once he gave him some small benefits. He was so happy that he almost lost himself. Yet, his methods didn't work on this young man. This young man wanted to snatch everything from him. My appetite has always been good, Wang Ting smiled and replied. At this moment, Shodidi was forced to the edge of his consciousness. Everyone's consciousness had different sizes. Shodidi's mind was only this big. Shodidi's spirit started shivering. It shrunk to a corner of his consciousness. It stopped beating around the bush and told his intention directly, "Let me go, and I'll tell you how to control the spacecraft." Oh. Wang Teng was stunned. "You want to give me the spacecraft?" "Yes, if you're willing to let me go, the entire spacecraft will be yours, including everything inside." "I will leave Earth and never come back," Shodidi said hurriedly. "How can you leave Earth without the spacecraft?" Wang Teng asked curiously. "You don't have to worry about that. We have our way of temporarily surviving in outer space. If you let me go, the deal will be fixed." "Is that so?" Wang Ting touched his chin and pretended to be in deep thought. After some time, he nodded and said, "I can let you go. Killing you doesn't give me any benefits. However, you need to tell me how to control the spacecraft first. This is the prerequisite." Shodidi was elated. "I can tell you how to control the spacecraft, but you need to sign a spiritual contract with me to ensure the fairness of this deal." "A spiritual contract?" Wang Teng repeated the words in surprise. He felt confused. This spiritual contract seemed like an interesting item. Use the spiritual contract to ensure the fairness of the deal? Could it be that their civilization had grasped some profound rules he didn't know? That's right, a spiritual contract. Once the people who sign the spiritual contract disobey the rules, they will get punished by the power of the contract. In less serious cases, their souls will get injured, and they will become crippled. In the more serious ones, the souls will get destroyed. They will die instantly. Wang Ting nodded in deep thought. Suddenly, he asked, "Are you trying to trick me by using the rules of the contract? How is that possible?" Shodidi was stunned. He said hurriedly, "If you don't believe me, you can write the rules. I'll not interfere." "All right, it's decided then." Wang Teng pretended to be reluctant as he nodded. Then, he asked, "Where's the spiritual contract?" "I have a space item on my wrist. The spiritual contract is kept inside." Wang Teng nodded. He moved his thoughts, and his consciousness returned to his body. However, a portion of his spiritual power still remained in Shodidi's mind to prevent him from creating any trouble. With his current condition, it was impossible for him to turn the tides around anyway. Shodidi took out an item from his space wristwatch and said, "Open my sleeping cabin and I will send this out." "It's all right. I can take it," Wang Teng said calmly. Shodidi was wondering how he would take the spiritual contract when he felt the weight on his hand disappear. The item was already gone. "What is this?" Shodidi was dumbfounded. He didn't see how Wang Teng did it. But with his experience, he immediately guessed the method. He was flabbergasted. This young man can control space. That's right. Only space power can do this. Wang Teng didn't care about what Shodidi thought. His gaze landed on the item in his hand. This was a rectangular wooden box made from some unknown material. It was thick and sturdy and felt heavy. There were many patterns on the surface too. It looked simple and unpretentious. "This feels ceremonial," Wang Teng muttered to himself. He used his eyes of essence to look at the content inside. After confirming that it was safe, he used his spiritual power to open the box. He didn't use his hands. Click. The wooden box opened as per normal. Nothing amiss happened. Wang Teng's expression didn't change. He wasn't afraid of death, but it was always good to be careful in front of this unknown alien. If not, he might die without any warning. There was an ancient scroll made of beast skin in the box. It didn't look special, but with his stronger origin of soul, he felt a special spiritual fluctuation. There were spiritual fluctuations on the scroll. Wang Teng was surprised. His eyes of essence were still activated, but he realized that he couldn't see the essence of this scroll. Interesting. Wang Teng smiled with interest. He added blank attributes to his eyes of essence. He had just received the Eyes of Essence not long ago, so it was still at the beginner stage. Eyes of Essence, 1/10, beginner. If he wanted to rise to another level, he needed 10 points of attributes. However, Wang Ting knew that the Eyes of Essence was the same as the spiritual sight. It might look like 10 attribute points, but in reality, more blank attributes were required. As expected, the blank attributes started decreasing dramatically. At the same time, Wang Ting's eyes started twitching uncontrollably. Visit Readel.me for extra chapters. He lost 10,000 blank attributes before the Eyes of Essence reached the intermediate stage. Wang Ting's face turned green. Damn it, this Eyes of Essence was scarier than the spiritual sight. This skill could empty his blank attributes instantly. He couldn't afford to raise it. Mind you, he had exerted a lot of time and effort to accumulate 50,000 points of blank attributes. Yet, a fifth of it was used in an instant, and more would be needed in the future. He didn't have the points to raise it anymore. Eyes of Essence, 100, Intermediate. Wang Ting stopped immediately when he saw the Eyes of Essence rising in level. The intermediate stage was enough. If there was a need, he would continue raising its level in the future. Wang Ting continued looking at the spiritual contract. The Eyes of Essence passed through layers of obstacles and saw the essence of the contract. That was a ball of strange energy. It seemed like a certain power of contract. Wang Ting remembered the strength of Ultima he had received from the ancient god's corpse. This power was even more frightening and profound than the strength of Ultima. Wang Ting had never seen this energy before. How did you get this spiritual contract? Wang Ting turned and asked Shodidi with a strange gaze. I bought it. It's very expensive. How is it made? Who made it? Wang Ting asked again. It's made by rune masters who have grasped the power of contract. Only they can make this amazing spiritual contract, Shodidi replied directly. Wang Ting nodded as he pondered. He stopped asking. He had gotten all the answers he wanted. Shodidi wasn't a rune master, so he wouldn't get anything else out of him. In that case, let's sign the contract, Wang Ting said. How do I use this? You can write the transaction rules on the contract. Then, use your origin of soul to sign your name and pass me to sign, Shodidi explained. Wang Ting nodded. He followed the instructions and handed the spiritual contract to Shodidi after completing everything. Shodidi looked at the content carefully. He reread it 5 times to ensure that there were no problems before signing his name. It's done, right? Wang Ting asked. Yes. Shodidi nodded. Then, he used voice transmission to tell Wang Ting how to control the universe spacecraft without any hesitation. He also took out an ice blue cube and said, "This is the core of the spacecraft. I've already erased the spiritual marks inside. You just have to carve your spiritual mark here and you can control the spacecraft. Can you let me go now?" Wang Ting used his space talent to take the core. He weighed it on his hand and nodded. Once I have tested and confirmed that everything is fine, I'll let you go. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 733 Mick. Inside the Plato Being's spacecraft. Wang Ting followed Shodidi's instructions and arrived at the control room. The control room was right in the center of the spacecraft. This was an extremely important location. Once the control room was damaged, there would be a breakdown, and the entire spacecraft would be destroyed. Wang Ting didn't know if there were any faults in the spacecraft. After all, it was attacked when it landed. However, based on Shodidi's attitude, the problem wasn't huge. He would be seeking death if he used a useless spacecraft to transact with him. Very soon, Wang Ting walked through a corridor made of metal and came in front of a silver-white metallic door. Is this the place? Wang Ting recalled Shodidi's instructions and opened a screen beside the door. He entered the code Shodidi had told him. The door slowly opened with a beep. This wasn't a large room, but it looked like a scene from a science fiction movie. All the devices were turned off, and the control room was dull and silent. The entire spacecraft was in hibernation. The core cube was needed to activate it. Wang Tung walked over and smiled. The Pope had the spacecraft for a long time, but he didn't manage to enter the core area. Yet, Wang Tung did it. He walked to the center of the control room as he thought about this. There was a seat there, the only seat in the control room. Wang Tung sat down and tilted the seat to the most comfortable angle. At this moment, the floor in front of the seat vibrated and a dark golden pillar rose up gradually. There was a square hole in the pillar. This was where he should place the core cube. I hope you didn't lie to me. If not, Wang Tung took out the core cube and instilled his spiritual power into it. If he wanted to leave his spiritual mark in the cube, he needed to use his spiritual power. The process was smooth. Wang Tung successfully left his mark in the cube without any accidents. Blue lines started glowing on the core cube. The patterns were extremely simple at the start, but they soon spread throughout the entire cube. There were countless lines on it. Wang Tung's gaze lit up. He could clearly sense the connection between him and the cube. It looked like Sho Didi wasn't lying to him. He seemed to trust the power of the spiritual contract entirely. If not, he wouldn't have given Wang Tung control of the spacecraft so easily. Unfortunately, a smirk appeared on the edge of Wang Tung's lips as he thought of something. I just need to place the cube into the pillar. Wang Tung placed the core cube into the hole in the golden pillar without any hesitation. Once the core cube was placed into the hole, the blue lights on the cube merged into the golden pillar, and numerous blue lines started to appear on the golden pillar too. The lines covered the entire surface and stretched all the way onto the floor. It was connected to the entire spacecraft. Wang Tung was curious. The technology used to create this spacecraft was interesting, giving people an impressive feeling. Suddenly, the entire command room lit up. All the devices entered work mode and woke up from their slumber. My dear Master, welcome to the Minos 3 spacecraft. In the intelligent system MiG 3957, a gentle voice sounded in the command room suddenly. MiG 3957. Wang Tung didn't like this name. He wanted to complain. Why don't you call yourself 9527? Intelligent system. Wang Tung called. Yes, you can call me MiG 3957, the voice was heard again. MiG 3957, why is this your name? Wang Tung asked curiously. That's because I'm the 3957th Minos 3 spacecraft made by the Embark technology company, MiG 3957 said. Your name is so random. Wang Tung couldn't help but complain. MiG 3957, don't you have a hologram? Wang Tung thought of his Queen Phoenix battlecraft. These two spacecraft couldn't be compared in terms of technology, but the Queen Phoenix battlecraft had a virtual image for its intelligence system. This was a humane design. Yet, this high-tech spacecraft didn't have it. My previous master didn't set a virtual image for me. If you like it, I can show you a sample. I can come out at any moment. It's a piece of cake. MiG 3957's voice was filled with confidence. Yes, Wang Tung heard confidence in its voice. It looked like the intelligence system was extremely high-tech. It exceeded Wang Tung's expectations. Never mind, it's fine. Wang Tung felt embarrassed to create the virtual image. Its previous master was most likely Sho Didi. If he didn't do it, he wouldn't either. Okay. 3975. What's the condition of this spacecraft? Wang Tung finally asked the crucial question. The instant he threw this question out, a screen appeared in front of Wang Tung, with blue-colored data floating on it. My dear master, this spacecraft is 15% damaged. The main force engine isn't damaged, but 2 out of the 6 auxiliary engines are unfunctional. 30% of the reserve energy is still available. MiG 3957 started introducing force engine. Wang Tung started pondering. Yes, the spacecraft uses a force compression unit to compress mass reserves of constellation force into energy to sustain the sailing of the spacecraft, MiG 3957 said. Constellation force. Wang Tung nodded. He asked, can we set sail right now? No problem. MiG 3957 replied. No hurry. We'll have a chance to try it in the future. Wang Tung shook his head. Continue to hibernate. Yes, my dear master. MiC 3957 obeyed Wang Ting's order and went silent. The entire command room dimmed. Wang Ting took out the core cube and closed the command room. He went back to the room where the aliens were sleeping. How is it? You should have controlled the spacecraft already, right? Can you let me go now? Shodidi asked as soon as he saw Wang Ting coming back. Don't be impatient. Wang Ting smiled. Don't forget that we have signed the spiritual contract. If you renege, there will be serious consequences. Shodidi's expression changed as he threatened him. Ah, that will be so scary. Wang Ting pretended to be scared, patting his chest. Shodidi was rendered speechless. Could you be a little more fake? He suddenly had a bad feeling. This fellow didn't seem scared. Was he honestly not afraid of the power of the spiritual contract? That was impossible. Chapter 734. An astonishing piece of news. Shodidi was stunned by his own thoughts. But the instant this thought appeared, he shook his head and denied it. No one could disregard the power of the contract, not even formidable martial warriors in the universe. This earthling wouldn't be able to do it. Are you sure you signed the spiritual contract? 2 items suddenly appeared in Wang Ting's hands. One was a spiritual contract while the other was an ordinary beast scroll. Shodidi's bad feeling got stronger. Wang Ting smiled as he opened the 2 scrolls, placing them in front of Shodidi. The spiritual contract was empty. Their previous transaction was written on an ordinary scroll. How is this possible? Shodidi squinted. His expression changed entirely, and he started screaming in disbelief. Nothing is impossible. You got tricked. Wang Ting gave an evil smile. He had used spiritual illusion while signing the contract. Shodidi's spiritual power was injured, so he failed to detect it. You're despicable. Shodidi was indignant. He had no choice but to accept fate. The truth was laid out in front of him. He had to believe it. However, he didn't understand how Wang Ting swapped the 2 scrolls. You know why you came to Earth? Wang Ting sneered. Shodidi's gaze flickered. He admitted that they had evil intentions when they discovered this planet outside of the Olant Federation. Thrilled and exhilarated, they lost their cool. Before they landed, they realized that this planet was extremely backward. The strongest warrior hadn't even reached the planetary stage. They could easily take over this remote and underdeveloped planet even though they were almost the weakest in the universe. Thus, they let down their guards. This caused an accident when they landed on this planet. They didn't realize that there was a space overlap on this planet. They only noticed it when they got closer and their spacecraft got affected by the power of space. They reacted in time, but all of them got grievously injured by the frightening power of space. A human found them coincidentally and captured them. Thinking back about it, it was a sorrowful event. This was a great chance for them to get wealthy. Mind you, in the universe, a planet with life was an important resource. This planet was enough to generate real wealth. If they did it properly, they might obtain part of the operations and earn for the rest of their lives. The mission of universe explorers like them was to find planets. That was why they traveled thousands of miles in space. Also, this might not be a bad thing for the locals on this planet. They could get advanced technologies and higher martial arts paths. It was better than living in stupidity for the rest of their lives. Of course, this was their own wishful thinking which planet would want to sell itself. Wang Ting didn't know any of the details, but he could guess from Shodidi's expression. These aliens had no good intentions. What do you want? Shodidi snorted. He knew that he wouldn't be able to escape from Wang Ting. Thus, he stopped hoping. Explorers like them fought their way through the universe. The universe was a mysterious place with countless dangers. None of the explorers were easy to deal with. Even if he was afraid of death, he wouldn't show it. Why don't I suggest an exchange with you? Wang Ting smiled. An exchange? Shodidi felt exasperated. He said this to Wang Ting some time ago, but now, their roles were switched. He knew that the other party had his own intentions. But he wouldn't give up easily when there was a chance. If he didn't have to die, he wouldn't want to. What exchange? Shaw Didi asked in frustration. It's very simple. Wang Ting opened his mouth and looked into Shaw Didi's serious gaze. Before he finished his sentence, a crimson glow appeared. Bewitch. Damn it, this move again. Shaw Didi was stunned. His expression changed, but this time, he had no chance of resisting. His mind trembled, and he lost his consciousness. HMPH, an exchange? Only an idiot will make a deal with you. Wang Ting smirked. He confirmed that Shaw Didi had lost consciousness before questioning him. Under the bewitch skill, Shaw Didi told him everything he knew. Very soon, Wang Ting dug out all the secrets of these aliens. The more Shaw Didi said, the more serious Wang Ting's expression got. He could see a large universe map gradually opening in front of him. The world was vast, and there were numerous complicated races in it. They were also formidable presences that could rule the universe. All these things were a huge stimulation to him. This was beyond comprehension. There was a large world outside Earth. In this universe, there were also powerful martial arts civilizations many times stronger than Earth. Mind you, if the Xingwu continent didn't get connected to Earth, it might still be an ordinary planet with no martial arts. Earth was an underdeveloped planet. Wang Ting took a deep breath after some time. There was a strange glint in his eyes as he muttered to himself. The Olent Federation, planetary stage, universe explorers, selling planets with life on it. All these astonishing pieces of news jumped out of Wang Ting's mouth. If there were other people present, they would be dumbfounded. This was too much information. Even Wang Ting was at a loss. He wanted to report this information to the higher authorities of country Xia and the world. After all, this was important news for Earth. But the impact was too huge. He wouldn't know what to say even if he wanted to. Wang Ting thought for a moment and gave up on this idea. Some people might lay their eyes on his spacecraft if he revealed the information. At that time, things would become troublesome. Although he didn't plan to hide it, he wanted to wait until he was strong enough. At that time, no one would dare to touch his things. It wouldn't take long. At that moment, Shaw Didi woke up and looked at Wang Ting in astonishment. His heart was filled with despair. This fellow was a devil. Everything he said was fake. An exchange? He was lying to him again. Visit Riadel. Me for extra chapters. Shaw Didi recalled what happened and realized that he had been tricked all the way. His bluffing skills were nothing in front of Wang Ting. Oh, crying face, he felt hopeless. Wang Ting started self-reflecting when he saw his expression. Was he a little too outrageous? Even an alien was doubting himself. He couldn't bear to see him in agony. Ashamed. Ashamed. Wang Ting self-reflected for 3 seconds before he looked at Shaw Didi. Any last words? If you have nothing to say, I'll release you from your predicament. You seem to be in pain. Shaw Didi was astounded. This was the first time he had heard someone using such a refreshing way to tell him he wanted to kill him. Damn it, he was inhumane. Shaw Didi wanted to curse, but he didn't dare. He looked at Wang Ting's indifferent gaze and felt a chill run down his spine. I don't want to die. Don't kill me. I'm still useful. Shaw Didi swallowed his saliva and cried in a hurry. Oh! Wang Ting was surprised. Then, he asked with interest, I can't think of how you might be useful. I know that someone like you won't want to stay on this undeveloped planet for the rest of your life. One day, you will step into the vast universe. I might not be the strongest, but I've been to many places. I can be your guide. It will save you much trouble when you enter the universe in the future, Shaw Didi explained quickly. You seem quite useful. Wang Ting touched his chin and nodded in agreement. Shaw Didi was elated. He felt that he had managed to save himself. But this still wasn't enough. He struck when the iron was hot and said, there are many factions in the universe. You are born on an undeveloped planet, so your starting point is behind others. You will definitely meet many obstacles if you don't have someone guiding you. You might even provoke someone you shouldn't. I can help you evade all these. You're good at promoting yourself. Wang Tung looked at Sho Didi strangely. He was prepared to kill him, but this alien had managed to convince him. He had to admit that he made sense. Never mind, I'll spare your life for now. This is my territory, so you won't be able to cause much trouble anyway, Wang Tung said nonchalantly. He was in control of this spacecraft, and they were in his space fragment. It was impossible for him to escape. Hence, Wang Tung wasn't worried. In the future, when he got stronger, these Plato beings wouldn't be his match. He wouldn't need to be afraid of them backstabbing him. Other people wouldn't dare to lower their vigilance in front of an alien even if it was heavily injured. Moreover, this was their first time hearing about the presence of planetary stage formidable warriors. They didn't know if they could beat them. However, Wang Tung was a bug. He was extremely confident in himself. Knowing one's limitation was wisdom. He had it. Sho Didi heaved a sigh of relief when he heard Wang Tung's words. This is too difficult. He was a planetary stage warrior, but he fell in the hands of an earthling who hadn't even reached his level. He even had to promote himself and beg him to show mercy. This was the most arduous moment in his life. Sho Didi felt that he was probably the most unlucky planetary stage formidable warrior in the universe. Oh right, let me take a look at your cultivation scriptures and battle techniques, Wang Tung suddenly said. Sho Didi was shocked. He hesitated. Why? You can't do it. Wang Tung's expression turned cold. No, you misunderstood me. I can't take out these scriptures or battle techniques, Sho Didi explained hurriedly. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 735 The Taste of Freedom. What do you mean by you can take them out? Wang Tung frowned. In the Federation, all the scriptures and battle techniques above the planetary stage are monopolized. You need to sign a spiritual contract when you buy them. If you reveal it to others, you will die immediately, Sho Didi said fearfully. Why is it the spiritual contract again? Wang Tung furrowed his brows. He was puzzled. Don't lie to me. Based on what you said, there are many races in the Olant Federation and the population must be a few trillion. How can everyone sign the spiritual contract? It doesn't make sense. No, you don't understand how scary the Federation is. No one can escape unless it's your personal battle technique or scripture. You can teach other people if it's yours. However, these scriptures and battle techniques are in the hands of the powerful factions. Nobodies like us don't have the chance to possess them, Sho Didi said seriously. Are planetary stage formidable warriors nobodies? Wang Tung suddenly realized how small he was. Sho Didi didn't look like he was lying, but to be safe, he used his bewitch to confirm his words. Wang Tung then turned grim. Sho Didi was telling the truth. The Olant Federation had a strong understanding of copyrights. It wasn't hard to understand. The Olant Federation used a system similar to the copyright system on Earth. All the martial warriors could only learn scriptures and battle techniques by purchasing them or coming up with their own. Anyone who broke the rules wouldn't be punished by law. They would die instantly instead. This was a good and domineering plan. If he managed to create his own scripture and battle technique in the future, he might be able to earn a large sum of money. It would be a continuous source of income. This was an opportunity, but he was in a difficult situation now. Wang Tung wondered how he could obtain the planetary stage scripture and battle technique from Sho Didi. Sho Didi had already woken up from the bewitch skill. His face was pale. Using the bewitch skill 2 times on him strained his spiritual power greatly. He wouldn't be able to recover anytime soon. He looked at Wang Tung in fear. Suddenly, he felt that his future might be miserable. It was bleak. Oh right, I must be an idiot. Wang Tung suddenly clapped his hands, his eyes lighting up like bulbs. He thought of a plan. He had forgotten about the system. Although the chance was lower, he would be able to get the scripture and battle technique attribute bubbles from Sho Didi without killing him. Wang Tung's gaze turned dangerous. Sho Didi shuddered. He felt a chill running through his body. He had a bad premonition again. I will let you out now, Wang Ting suddenly said with a smile. Silence. Sho Didi was stunned. Why did he want to let him out suddenly? What was this? But he was overjoyed. If he was released, he would have a chance to escape. After all, he was a planetary stage warrior. He was confident in himself. But before you come out, you must start cultivating first, Wang Ting said. Sho Didi was puzzled again. What did letting him out have to do with cultivating? He couldn't understand this guy. He was confused. Wang Ting didn't care what he was thinking. He opened the handcuffs and leg cuffs that were binding him. Sho Didi immediately sensed the presence of force. He felt invigorated. Never mind, coming out is good anyway. I will teach this earthling a lesson once I recover. He made his decision and started sucking the force outside using his force skill scripture. At the same time, Wang Ting opened the sleeping cabin. Sho Didi sat up instantly. He wanted to laugh. It was so difficult. It was tough. He had been locked up for such a long time. Finally, he could taste freedom. Bang! However, besides the taste of freedom, he also felt a sharp pain in his head. As Wang Ting was holding his brick. He was worried that the alien's head was harder, so he used his strongest strength of Ultima. He did his best for this attack. Fortunately, the effects were good. Sho Didi went in a daze after this brick attack. His vision turned black, and his ears were ringing. He was at a loss. Where am I? What just happened? Who am I? Wang Ting's eyes lit up. He saw an attribute bubble falling. It worked. He started hammering the alien even more violently. Bang, bang, bang. Wang Ting started beating him like a drum. Sho Didi's face was badly bruised, and he was in a state of confusion. He didn't know why he had landed in this terrible state. After some time, Wang Ting finally stopped. He wanted to continue, but this was the limit. Sho Didi couldn't drop any more attribute bubbles. However, he was already satisfied with the floor of attribute bubbles. Get it? Starwood scripture *3 Starwood scripture *5 Starwood scripture *3 Constellation Force, wood, *10 Constellation Force, wood, *8 Indeed, it work. Sensing the content of the attribute bubbles, Wang Ting was elated. As these bubbles merged into his body, an outline of a figure appeared in his mind. The figure sat in mid-air as if he was cultivating. The figure was transparent. When it started cultivating, Wang Ting could clearly see the situation in his body. Spots of light lit up and scattered across his entire body. At the same time, some profound memory fragments appeared in his mind. It turned into his experience and enlightenment. The process didn't last for long. Wang Ting finished absorbing the knowledge quickly. He opened his eyes and let out a long breath. A sharp glint flashed across his eyes. Starwood scripture. This was a planetary stage scripture. Wang Ting felt emotional. He had finally obtained a planetary stage scripture. It contained the method to convert force into constellation force. After receiving this scripture, he understood the parts that baffled him when he was trying to create his own scripture to convert force. Besides the Starwood scripture, he also picked up Constellation Wood force attribute bubbles. Unfortunately, Wang Ting stopped Sho Didi the moment he started cultivating, so he only received 35 points of it. Never mind, he could accumulate them in the future. Wang Ting shook his head and looked at Sho Didi, who had fallen back into the sleeping cabin. He helped him wear the handcuffs and leg cuffs again before sealing the sleeping cabin. Sho Didi tried his best to open his swollen eyes. He wanted to cry. He was locked up the second he smelled the air of freedom. He even got beaten up for no reason. He felt wronged. Chapter 736 Planetary Stage Scriptures and Battle Techniques. When Wang Ting came down from the spacecraft, he had 2 new planetary stage scriptures and 1 planetary stage battle technique in his hands. He woke up Sho Didi's companions from their hibernation and had a good interaction with them regarding brick and freedom. None of them understood what the link was between them, but it didn't matter. Wang Ting treated all the Plato beings gently, including Sho Didi. Yes, gently. This word was used correctly. These Plato beings experienced Wang Ting's tender and loving care before they went back to sleep obediently. The two scriptures were Starwood Scripture and Starfire Scripture. The battle technique was Starfire Sword Slash. Wang Ting felt that the names were too perfunctory. He highly suspected that these star scriptures and battle techniques were the most ordinary and lowest level of scriptures and battle techniques. Did this mean that this 7-alien team was poor? Wang Ting's expression turned strange. He felt that he had discovered their secret. Shaking his head, he stopped thinking about it. His gaze landed on the two scriptures. These two felt like a set. Would there be a Star-Earth scripture, a Star-Metal scripture, and a Star-Water scripture? After grasping the content, Wang Ting realized that the Starwood scripture and the Starfire scripture had many similarities. He was more certain of his guess. But he still needed the other three scriptures to confirm his hypothesis. He decided that he would spend his free time with the other Plato beings in the future and teach them the art of the brick. They possessed all 5 main elements, but only 2 scriptures were dropped. They hadn't given him everything. This was a probability question. He would be able to get the other scriptures after a few more tries. When all else failed, he didn't mind killing 1 or 2 for a bigger chance. Wang Ting stepped out of the spacecraft. He scanned his surroundings and saw the metal armor flaming scorpion and Little White standing outside a metal cage. He wondered what they were doing. He walked over and looked at the star beast in the cage. "Master." The metal armor flaming scorpion smiled obediently at Wang Ting when it saw him. Nothing could be seen from his expression, but you could hear the fawning in his tone. Wang Ting nodded. "How is it? Is there a problem?" Before this, he found out that the metal armor flaming scorpion was able to converse with Little White, who couldn't speak. After asking it, he learned that the Lord-level star beasts could talk to star beasts who couldn't speak. This black sand magnetic lizard couldn't speak, but Wang Ting wanted to know its background. Hence, he passed this responsibility to the metal armor flaming scorpion. "I got the answer. I got the answer." The metal armor flaming scorpion nodded fervently. "This beast got tortured badly, so its vigilance is high. It doesn't like speaking to others. I had to spend so much effort to get it to open its mouth." Wang Ting nodded. It was understandable. The lizard wouldn't have had a great time since it was part of an experiment. Where was it caught? Is its talent a species talent or a personal trait? Wang Ting asked the 2 questions he was the most curious about. It said that it came from the Sahara Desert, and it's the only one with this talent. Its other companions possessed sand talent, a mutated form of the earth element, the metal armor flaming scorpion explained. "The Sahara Desert." Wang Ting nodded. The metal armor flaming scorpion was a star beast from the Xingwu continent, so it didn't recognize the Sahara Desert. However, Wang Ting was from the earth, so he knew. He would be a frog in the well if he didn't. After getting the information he wanted, he left the space fragment. The troops were still cleaning up the base of the Zhonli clan. Wang Ting didn't have to manage them. Song Wanjiang and the others would take care of it. The next day, they finished clearing up the base of the Zhonli clan. The 3 troops prepared to leave. In the early morning, the 3 battlecraft rose into the air and soared into the mountains. Based on their plan, the majority of the martial warriors would return to their troops, and the remaining would be in charge of escorting the surrendered martial warriors from the Zhonli clan. These people would follow Wang Teng, Zhu Xuanwu, and Xiao Nanfeng back to Earth and to capital Xia. Wang Teng and Zhu Xuanwu returned to Donghai through the dimensional rift in Yong City. They boarded a force-floating airship and headed to capital Xia. Capital Xia, military. The people here had been waiting for a long time. All the military martial warriors were armed with rune guns and standing at attention. They had received the order that the martial warriors from the Zhonli clan would be arriving on an airship today. They would be locked up in the military cell. None of them dared to look down on these surrendered martial warriors. These horrendous criminals had been wreaking havoc for a long time, but they always escaped their clutches. They were sly and hard to deal with. However, the Zhonli clan was finally annihilated. They also heard that the martial warriors from 3 troops were sent out for this mission. General Zhu Xuanwu, Lieutenant General Xiao Nanfeng, and the famous Major General Wang Ting went personally to destroy the Zhenli clan. This was an amazing feat. Many innocent people had been harmed by the Zhenli clan. To them, these people who exterminated the Zhenli clan were heroes. Everyone was over the moon. They could witness the return of their heroes soon. The three great commanders and the leaders of the military were all present. They waited in anticipation while brimming with joy. The leaders behind them started discussing. "I didn't think that we would succeed." "That's right. The Zhenli clan has been around for too long. We failed every time, so people started to lose confidence. I didn't think that they would be exterminated this time. Sigh, what a pity." Wang Teng was sent to head this mission. The three commanders take great care of him. I wonder if they caught the Pope of the Zhenli clan. After years of research, we know that the Pope is the core of the clan. If he isn't caught, the clan might revive one day. Who knows? The Pope has always been a crafty old fox. He never reveals himself, so it must be hard to catch him. While they were discussing, a force-floating airship appeared on the horizon. There were many powerful martial warriors present, so they noticed it even though it was far away. "They are here." Everyone was invigorated and looked in the same direction. The airship traveled quickly. It appeared above everyone within a few seconds and gradually floated down. Chapter 737. The spotlight of the banquet. After the force-floating airship landed in the military airport, Zhu Xuanwu, Wang Teng, and the martial warriors alighted the airship under everyone's gaze. The three of them were walking side by side, but when the three great commanders came to welcome them, Zhu Xuanwu and Xiao Nanfeng took a step back in unplanned unison, allowing Wang Teng to take the lead. Wang Teng was stunned when he noticed their actions. He wasn't the only one. The three great commanders and the martial warriors behind them were surprised too. They found it unbelievable. Seriously? Wang Ting might not understand their gesture, but they did. Zhu Xuanwu and Xiao Nanfeng were silently telling them that the first-class merit of this mission belonged to Wang Teng. The lieutenant colonel and the colonel lost to a young man who just became a major, and they seemed to acknowledge him wholeheartedly. This was astonishing. The three great commanders quickly regained their composure and patted Wang Teng's shoulder. Smiling in satisfaction, they said, "You did well. You didn't disappoint us. It's the result of everyone's hard work." "I couldn't have done it alone," Wang Ting said with guilt. Mind you, he stole a large portion of the Zhenli clan's treasures. He felt ashamed to accept their compliments. If they knew what he had done, they wouldn't be all smiles. They might take the lead and beat him up. But in this situation, they felt that Wang Ting was being humble. Look, he was young and powerful, but he remained humble and calm. What a rare character. If they could, they wanted to award Wang Ting with the title of the model of his generation. Zhu Xuanwu smiled. "Don't be modest. If not for you, we wouldn't have been able to deal with the Zhenli clan so smoothly. We couldn't have killed the Pope either." "What? The Pope of the Zhenli clan is dead?" Everyone was astounded. They stared at Zhu Xuanwu and Wang Ting with wide eyes. "Y'all killed the Pope of the Zhenli clan," the bulky Commander Long said in amazement. Commander Yong and Commander Hong looked at them too. The Pope had always been a thorn in their hearts. They wouldn't feel at ease unless this person was gone. "Yes. I saw him self-destructing personally," Zhu Xuanwu replied. Self-destruct? The three great commanders and the other officials were dumbfounded. The Pope of the Zhenli clan self-destructed. This sly old fox who was afraid of death chose to self-destruct. They were in disbelief. They looked at one another, unable to accept this truth for a moment. "Are you sure?" Commander Hong hesitated before asking yes. "If there are any questions, you can ask the surrendered Zhenli clan members. They saw it personally. That person was the Pope of the Zhenli clan. This is the space ring he left behind after he self-destructed. You can bring it back to confirm." Wang Teng took out a space ring and passed it to Commander Hong. After hearing their words, most people started to believe them. The Pope of the Zhenli clan had indeed self-destructed himself. How pitiful! How sorrowful! Such a powerful character chose to self-destruct in the end. Come, let's go back. All of you are the heroes of this mission. We have prepared a banquet for you guys. The leader of martial arts will also attend. Commander Yong smiled and said. The leader of martial arts. Zhu Xuanwu and Xiao Nanfeng's eyes lit up. The other officers were surprised too. They didn't think that the leader of martial arts would personally come to welcome the martial warriors back. They were envious. Wang Ting was surprised too. He had only seen the leader once. After that time, he never made an appearance. It was surprising that he decided to appear in public because of the Zhenli clan. They didn't waste any time and escorted the martial warriors from the Zhenli clan to their cells. After everyone left, what happened here spread to all the martial warriors from the different factions. The Zhenli clan was exterminated. The Pope of the Zhenli clan was killed. At night, the leader of martial arts would be holding a banquet for Wang Teng, Zhu Xuanwu, and the other martial warriors. Every piece of news was more astonishing than the last. Tonight, many other important figures would be present since the leader of martial arts was coming. The different factions started working and fighting for a chance to take part in this banquet. This was an opportunity for them to see the leader of martial arts and get to know many important figures in country Xia. Everyone wanted to seize this chance. It would be unwise to underestimate the influence of these powerful factions. They were able to settle everything within half a day. 6 p.m. In a banquet hall somewhere in the military zone. The hall was extremely lively. Light shone brightly, and many important figures from various factions gathered in the hall, conversing with one another. They would occasionally glance at the entrance. Old Zhao, you're here too. A voice came from a corner of the hall. A muscular old man walked over with a few youngsters behind him. There were a few people sitting in that corner. The old man among them smiled when he raised his head and saw who it was. He stood up. Chen Boyu, your family is in Nanhai, but you received the news too and hurried all the way here? Haha, how can I not come? This is such an important event. The muscular old man called Chen Boyu chuckled. You're right. The Donghai crisis had caught everyone's attention, and now, the Zhenli clan is annihilated. I'm sure everyone knows about it. Zhao Fuhong nodded in agreement. Major Wang Ting is rising in the military like a shooting star. Chen Boyu lamented. I heard that he's not even 20 years old. Our younger generations can't be compared with him. Zhao Fuhong nodded, taking the chance to reprimand the younger generations in his family. The youngsters behind them appeared frustrated. They had heard Wang Ting's name so many times that they wanted to vomit. They were all young people and were highly talented. Hence, they had their pride. They hadn't seen Wang Ting in action, so they felt that everyone was exaggerating. In addition, the elders kept using Wang Ting to scold them, so they didn't feel good. The two elders didn't notice their expressions. They started chatting again. I heard that Major Wang Ting isn't married. I should have the young ladies from my family interact with him. Zhao Fuhong's eyes were small, but they gave off a sharp and bright glint as he smiled. Haha, old Zhao, is that your plan? My granddaughter, Chen Duoduo, is a renowned beauty with many admirers. Major Wang Ting will be interested in her if he sees her. Chen Boyu sniggered. Compage, my Zhao Yakin is not bad either. Let's have a bet. Let's see who will win Wang Ting's heart first. Zhao Fuhong snorted. Sure. I'm not afraid of you. These two old men started quarreling over this matter like two young kids. There was a pretty young lady standing behind each of them. They started blushing when they heard their words, looking a little shy. They were all young ladies who hadn't experienced love. It was impossible for them to remain calm when their elders were sorting their love life. However, when their eyes met, they sensed enmity in each other's gaze. Sparks flew everywhere. They didn't have any bad feelings towards Wang Ting. They had seen his pictures. He was handsome, powerful, and had a bright future ahead. No woman could reject a man like him. In that case, all opponents were their enemies. A handsome young man standing beside Chen Duoduo noticed their expressions, his face turning black. He opened his mouth uncontrollably and said, I heard that Wang Ting has relationships with many ladies. You must be careful. Don't get tricked by him. The atmosphere turned silent instantly. Chen Duoduo and Zhao Yakin stopped glaring at each other while Zhao Hongfu and Chen Boyu looked at him sternly. Chen Yushu, have you forgotten what I told you before we came? Chen Boyu asked angrily. Grandpa, Chen Yushu's face turned pale. Colonel Zhu Xuanwu, Lieutenant Colonel Xiao Nanfeng, and Major Wang Teng have arrived, someone shouted. Chapter 738 An Old Man Yu Shouxian. A group of people walked in a few seconds after the announcement. The three people in the lead were all wearing military uniforms. They sparkled under the lights in the hall. These three would be a powerful presence no matter where they went. Both Xiao Nanfeng and Zhu Xuanwu were important figures. They guarded the dimensional rifts and prevented dark apparitions from landing in their world. They had many merits on them. They were worth respecting. Yet, they were overshadowed by the young man between them. He caught everyone's attention. The young man remained calm and composed as he stepped on the red carpet. He exuded a powerful aura silently and stepped forward with his shoulders wide. He scanned the surroundings with his deep gaze. All the martial warriors felt their hearts trembling. They couldn't control their astonishment. Even some general stage martial warriors felt the same way. They were appalled. This young man was indeed exceptional and powerful. This young man was none other than Wang Teng. He was attending this banquet with Zhu Xuanwu and the others. Chief Commander Zhu, Chief Commander Xiao, Chief Commander Wang, the military officers in charge of tonight's banquet hurriedly came forward to greet them. Thank you for your hard work. Zhu Xuanwu and Xiao Nanfeng were used to this situation, so they nodded at him. Wang Ting was familiar too. He nodded at the officers. You're welcome. The officers felt honored as they led the way. Bring Wang Ting around. You don't have to care about us. Zhu Xuanwu waved his hand and left with Xiao Nanfeng. Soon after, they were already happily chatting with the crowd. The people close to them came over and struck up conversations. Wang Ting was speechless when he saw the two of them abandoning him. Did you have to do that? Where's your compassion? You forsake your comrade on the battlefield and went to enjoy yourselves. Chief Commander Wang, please follow us. Let us introduce some important guests to you, the officers said. Wang Ting felt his head hurt. There were many people present, and he was in the limelight tonight. By right, he should converse with everyone. Wang Ting found it boring, but he couldn't leave directly. He could only go with the flow. I just need one person to accompany me. The rest can continue your work, Wang Ting said helplessly. He submitted to fate. The officers didn't object. A 20-year-old female officer was left to guide Wang Ting. She brought Wang Ting to an elder who was nearby and introduced him. This is Mr. Sun Tianhua, the family head of the Sun family in capital Xia. The Sun family is a renowned martial arts family. They have groomed many general stage martial warriors. The other family heads got envious when Sun Tianhua was the first to be introduced. Wang Ting was prepared to be a tool. He nodded at the other party and exchanged some greetings with him. Then, he wanted to leave. However, the other party didn't give him the chance. Chief Commander Wang, your reputation precedes you, but seeing you in person makes me think that your reputation is too humble. You're indeed young and outstanding. As expected of the leader of your generation, Sun Tianhua was brimming with joy. He was extremely enthusiastic. He wanted to grab Wang Ting's hand and have a long conversation with him. You're too polite. Wang Ting felt that this old man was exceptionally good with words. Your reputation precedes you, but seeing you in person makes me think that your reputation is too humble. Listen. This is how you should praise a person with class and elegance. He loved people who were polite and sweet-tongued. It looked like the banquet wouldn't be so boring after all. The female officer introduced the next guest. This is Governor Li from Jinlin. He came to congratulate you personally. Thank you, Governor Li. Wang Ting nodded. Old Jiang is lucky to have a powerful young man like you in Donghai. I can't compare myself with him anymore. Governor Li shook his head and smiled. He was a tall and lofty man with an exceptional aura. This is the Deputy Minister of Education, Chu Liangyong. The female officer brought him to a slightly short and plump middle-aged man. Deputy Minister Chu. Wang Teng was surprised. He thanked him hurriedly. This was an important figure in the Ministry of Education. All the martial arts university students were under him. Good, good. You're indeed the leader of your generation. Chu Liangyong was elated. He patted Wang Teng's hand intimately. You're flattering me, Wang Teng smiled and said. You're too humble. No one has the same talent as you in this world, Chu Liangyong complimented. If you continue praising me, the world might be too small for me, Wang Teng joked. Ha ha ha, Chu Liangyong laughed and waved his hand. Go ahead. There are many people waiting for you. Don't waste your time on me. I guess I'll have to listen to you. Wang Teng smiled and followed the female officer to greet the next person. Soon, they arrived in front of an old man. He was sitting alone in a corner. Many people wanted to speak with him, but they noticed his empty surroundings and understood the situation. They didn't dare to disturb him. The female officer was extremely respectful towards this elder. She bowed at him before introducing him earnestly. This is the principal of the first university, Mr. Yu Xiuxian. Wang Teng was slightly surprised. He looked at the amiable old man who seemed like an elder next door. He couldn't tell that this was a formidable character in the education world from his appearance. He couldn't help but remember the scene when he was applying to universities. At that time, the recruiter from the first university told him that their principal wanted to see him dearly, even instructing the recruiter that he must bring Wang Teng back. He wondered if that was true. However, Wang Teng did have a strong impression of this elder. Yu Xiuxian looked at Wang Teng kindly like an elder looking at his grandchild. He smiled and said, I knew that you were exceptional. It's a pity that you chose Huanghai Military Academy in the end, but I'm happy that you're able to come this far. Talent is important, but you must have been through many obstacles to reach this stage. I feel at ease that country Xia has you. Wang Teng was stunned. He sensed a different emotion in the elder's words. There was deep and great love in his heart. The powerful bear the world in their mind. This elder cared about the world. He treated the younger generation with love and expectations. Wang Teng didn't think that there was such a person in this era. In the past, this elder would be called a saint. He was deeply touched. He lowered his head slightly and bowed at the elder. Yu Xiuxian nodded and smiled. He turned to walk straight to the entrance, disappearing from the door. It felt as if he came today just to see Wang Teng, to see this outstanding young man who was the future of the country. Wang Teng watched him silently as he left. Many people stopped their conversations and stared at the elder too. For an instant, there was total silence in the hall. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.